Hello and welcome to the Challenger Series, one of the first of many tournaments on the road to the NA Regional Finals. I'm Risa, your host of this event, and alongside me today is my wonderful co-caster, Casanova. Casa, how are you doing today?
I am doing good. I am so excited to be back casting Teamfight Tactics, and I can't think of a better way to come back than with the Challenger Series here on giantslayer TV. I'm really looking forward to this lobby in this tournament.
I'm extremely excited as well, and we do have a very stacked lobby. Every player here is minimally top 20 on the leaderboards last week, and these places have changed dramatically, but I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Let's take a look at this week's players and the format based off of the previous snapshot. So we have Kurumx, saintvicious, 1109, THGSpencer, KCI, Cottontail, Nhantam, and ILikeHoboes. So granted, these are all top players, Casa, but who do you have an eye on for tonight?
Well, of course, I'm really excited to see saintvicious. He's been in the TFT community since the dawn of the game. He's been making amazing content. He's been really good the whole time, but I haven't really been able to catch him in a lot of tournaments yet. So I'd really like to see how he adapts to this kind of format. On top of that, I'm really excited to see Cottontail, Nan, and Kurumx. They were all in the OS/NA final prior. They were all in that lobby together. So having another opportunity with all of these players here once again, I feel like this is going to be just a banger of a night.
Yeah, we're going to have to see how they perform. And you mentioned format, but we actually brought back a format that a lot of the community have enjoyed. So, in order to win, players will need to get a minimum of 24 points first, and then a first place win, or 40 points minimum. So, the first win condition will precede the second. And this will create a very unique play style, seeing how there is two different ways to win this tournament. What type of strategies do you think they'll create?
Well, I do think that it will be kind of a race to that 24-point spot. Once you can get there, go for those top fours in the early lobbies. But once you get to that 24-point threshold, it's all about first or your last. So you're kind of looking for that. You go for those first or eighth compositions, trying to get there, trying to get that win. Now, of course, there is the alternative win condition of making it to 40 points. So we won't see a repeat of, Sox going second, or anything like that. But, I still think it is all about getting that first place once you race to that 24-point spot.
Yeah, the winner essentially takes it all. The full price of $200, and they also get a direct invitation to the Giant Slayer and a TFT qualifier with a 5K prize pool. So we'll be jumping into the first game very soon. What type of costume do you expect to see today?
Well, of course, we're going to be seeing some Ashe. We're going to be seeing some Talon. Probably Morgana's going to sneak her way in to a lot of things. But realistically, it's just going to be level to 7 and then look for that 4-cost chosen is going to be the standard that I expect to see a lot of. I would be excited to see some more interesting compositions, maybe something like a Moonlight. I've seen a little bit of rumblings of some Moonlight compositions on Twitter. And it would be cool to see some variation other than just seeing the level to 7 and find a 4-cost chosen. But I do expect that is going to be the standard for what we see tonight.
Yep, stage 4-1 is going to be the exciting roll down, and it's a question of who will be the one to get the best chosen, right? But it is an interesting format where first place do get a significant reward. So we'll have to see if players try to do some different strategies where they might actually roll down earlier, or they save their goal in order to go for that first place instead.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially once that 24-point threshold has been met, we might see some very interesting tactics and specifically just going for that, first place strategy, one that might be higher risk, but the bigger reward in the end because you'll take the entire night. And then maybe in some of the earlier games, people will just be going for something that they feel they can get a really safe top 4, but maybe not necessarily a first, so they can just ensure that they're one of the first players to make it to that 24-point threshold.
Yeah, in a few weeks as well, the PvE patch is going to hit, and this strategy is pretty much going to be thrown out of the window. So this is one of the last tournaments where players are going to be able to get this standard strategy going on before they have to develop something new. So I'm excited to see if we're going to see a lot of those 4-1 roll downs, and they're sticking to the standard strategy, or we're going to see something very unique tonight.
Yeah, I do still just hold out hope that there is some kind of exciting tech that we're going to get to see out of somebody, something very different. But we're going to be jumping into that first lobby, going straight into the carousel, and they're going to be trying to grab those items straight away. Risa, starting things out, what is the most popular item right now? What are you really looking for in the early game, especially?
Since you mentioned Ash and Talon, some of the most popular items right now is GA, Hodge, Last Whisper. So gloves and swords are definitely very popular. Personally, for myself, I go for the glove because it makes you IE, Hodge, and Last Whisper. So those are 3 top items. But I know that sword is also just as good. Or you can go for Chain Rest and Rod as well.
Yeah, and we'll have to see what everybody picked up here. KCI is going to be having that Tom Kench on the early game. We're going to see what he ends up kind of rolling into on these first couple of rounds. Of course, generally, it's just going to be playing the strongest board, trying to win streak early. As we see a Xin Zhao and is that a Nunu picked up as well? That's a lot of gold in the first stage that has already been picked up
That's one of the
for
best.
KCI.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's definitely one of the best things to see. You get 6 gold and you land a cultist chosen on the next stage. So this is a really great start for KCI. He's definitely going to look to win streak and potentially just start econing with that win streak and 10 gold. And then, so let's see here with his cultist. Let's hope that he hits the Elise or the Pike in the following turns.
Yeah, of course. If he can find that in the early stages, we talked about playing a strong board. It seems like a very good start overall for KCI as far as getting an early win streak, so that eventually they can go ahead and pivot later on in the game. That's another Twisted Fate. That's not really what he wants. I don't think he's looking for a TF3 anytime soon here. I think just trying to find those other cultists, like you mentioned, the Elise, the Pike. Those are going to be the main things that KCI is going to want. Get that Galio on the board to try and win some of these early rounds.
And then we see him selling his board as well, going straight for the 10 gold and econing here. TF with a tier 2 is definitely enough to beat these minions. And so we're hoping to get some items here that he can just slam down.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see another item picked up. Going to be 2 items so far, and that's a little bit more gold. So a lot of gold in the early game. And there's that Pike that we talked about. Is
He hit
able to
it.
find that one.
So here's the thing. On 2-1, I highly doubt he's going to lose here. He has a Headgrown Pike and Cultist. I mean, honestly, I might even level just to secure it, but I know that we want to hit that 10 gold econ. The only other person that I have seen on the right side is 1109, who has leveled up to 4. So I might have just scouted his board just to see. Oh, Kurumx also leveled to 4 now. So I would be checking those boards to see if I was strong enough to beat those. But with this cultist buff, most likely he should be able to win streak.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that Galio is definitely going to be doing a lot of work here in the early game. This is that's a slam of the Morella Nomicon onto the Twisted Fate for KCI here. So that's going to help out a lot in the early game. Just applying that burn is going to be doing so much work, as the Galio, of course, going to land that big slam and just allow KCI to get this early win streak, pick up a win over Spencer. I really expect we'll see KCI win for a little bit here with that early cultist, as it tends to be just one of the strongest early game compositions in the first couple of rounds.
Yeah, a lot of people do tend to push for the strongest board ever thanks to some flexible play. So we'll have to see here if anyone else got a lucky start just as much as KCI did. So he does level here and put in some brawler just to beef up his front line. As we saw before, it was just left to that TF and then the cultist. So I am curious to see. 1109 is the other player that has also leveled up and is at 100 HP.
Yeah, that is going to be interesting here. We do have Saint going up against KCI. That is the brawlers that you talked about beefing up this board. I think it's the board is continuing to get very, very strong for KCI. As you mentioned, beefing up. This is just going to give the TF more time to apply the Morella Nomicon, get more of these wild cards out, and go ahead and just clear away as many people as possible. So yeah, Saint going to lose that round. KCI on the win streak. Cottontail, the other person still on the win streak. Same with 1109. There's a couple more still at 100 HP. We see actually it's a 4-4 split on who has not lost and who has lost, with Hobos, 1109, KCI, and Cottontail all still at 100 HP, heading towards the last fight before the carousel.
And then he actually hit a decent upgrade here. He hit the Keepers and then another Cultist unit. So he might be going for the 6 Cultist path, which is a very strong early to mid game. So if he does able to hit a Callista and then another Cultist from there, I would say he's solid to win streak all the way to 4-1.
Yeah, very possible. Very, very possible to see. And if he does that, I mean, this puts just KCI in a really, really good spot for the entire game, because if he wants to pivot, the opportunities become very easy. He's got so much health to play with. He's going to have so much econ comparatively to the rest of the lobby because of the win streak that he has in the early game. And this positioning is working out so well for KCI going up against Cottontail. And Cottontail has the Moonlights early game, which are quite powerful as well. But not going to be enough to get through this Twisted Fate and the Galio, and they were all lined up for the wild cards to just knock them down.
Position is definitely so important, right? Like sometimes if you position wrong, your TF is just ulting and just a card is able to touch one unit. But as you mentioned, right there, the TF was able to hit every single unit on the enemy team.
Yeah, and I'm interested. We're going into this carousel, and we're going to jump to Saint's perspective here for a little bit as well. But KCI has that Morella Nomicon, and he's got this cultist start. Is there any item that you think especially KCI is going to be wanting to go for, wanting to find in this early game that might be a bit more flexible across the compositions he could go into, considering he's already on a Morella?
So KCI with the Morella is probably going to go on a Morgana. So outside of that, he's going to probably look for the IEGA Hodge Last Whisper build. So Glove Sword, as always, is also most popular, which gets taken really quickly. And so outside of that, Blue Buff would work or a Chain Vest.
Yeah, absolutely. Could see something like that. But here we've got a ZZ Rot portal already built for Saintvicious. So he slammed that rather early. And that's going to be sitting on the Tom Kench. He is going to be playing some Jinxes right now, probably looking for Fortune to try and lose streak for a little bit, and then make bank later, as this is 2 Jinxes already for Saintvicious. We actually, while we were waiting for this to start, we were watching Saintvicious play some Jinx earlier. So it does look like he's playing a lot of Fortune recently. It does seem like something he's very comfortable on.
Yeah, Fortune is definitely something that if you get early, it's one of the best things ever, because even though you might lose and take a couple of hits, you are gaining so much econ throughout it. If you do get that one solid win, or if your board is really strong with a Jinx 2 already, then there you go. You just get extra 2 gold or more every single round.
Yeah, absolutely. And that extra econ will pay dividends, just like the win streaking that we see from KCI. If you're econing so much in the early game just from Fortune, or you get that big influx of gold around that 4-1, it gives you more opportunities to roll down, find that 4-cost Josin, and just completely flip the game on its head once you get there. But of course, the Fortune strategy does result in you having less health to play with when we get to that point in the game. And we'll have to keep an eye on Saintvicious's HP as he continues to look for potentially this Fortune composition.
Yeah, he's full committing. I even thought about maybe selling those Jinx pair, or not the full pair, but at least one of them to get the econ. But you can see that he's coming to the path, really hoping to land that Fortune soon at Kurumx or the round after Kurumx, so that he actually benefit from this type of comp. And even not, if he is able to hit that Jinx too, he is running Sharpshooters, which would be a solid early to mid game. Potentially, it's just saving him a little bit more HP.
Yeah, and now we see going up against Kurum. This is another cultist player right now in the lobby. That is a Lulu Chosen, though. I'm not exactly sure which side the Chosen is on for her, but that is still, the cultists in the early game wreaking havoc. The Galio creating too much pressure. And even with these double Jinxes, they're actually putting in a lot of work with the sharpshooter buff, but it's not quite enough. I think, Saint is really looking for that tier 2 Jinx. And then, of course, we've mentioned that the Fortune is very important in this in order to actually start gaining some of that gold. But yeah, that's just another Tom Kench. Not going to be any sets. He's just got some pairs.
Yeah, I wonder how much of these fortunes are a bait. So obviously, if he doesn't hit that Jinx pair for a while, or if he doesn't hit an Annie or a Katarina, these fortunes just cost him a lot of health without much benefits, to be honest. So a little bit worried for Saint here. I'm hoping for the best that he does hit that Fortune or Jinx 2 soon. And we also see Hobos is the one that survived throughout all the rounds, econing like crazy with the 100 HP still. Casey actually did get taken down at the very end there.
Yeah, it was a soft loss, as we see only 2 HP gone, which makes sense considering how powerful their board looked. But still, someone was able to take down KCI, and I wonder if it even was Hobos, who is still sitting in that 100 HP. We're going to take a look at Cottontail, but later on, I'd like to see what Hobos is running in this early game here. But this is going to be Moonlight for Cottontail. I talked about this earlier, being one of the stronger early game compositions, and Cottontail sitting pretty comfortably at 88 HP here, tied with Kurumx for 4th. And that's a blue buff and a Zeke's Herald. What do those items speak to you, Risa? What is that telling you?
I mean, to be honest, Lissandra reroll these days have been really good. Dazzler is strong, and then Lissandra herself have gotten a lot more stronger and tankier compared to before. Like Moonlight in the past has always been Aphelios being the star, right? Now Aphelios is no more, and Lissandra is the star now with her being able to slow the enemy team and doing a little bit of AoE damage across the board. Unfortunately, it does take a very strong hit here.
Yeah, that's a lot. That Lissandra was, of course, caught just hitting the Galio over and over again, and just shows how close the HP values are still in this lobby, because, he goes from 4th all the way to the bottom, and then, a couple more people take a little bit of damage, but really just no one has taken too much at 3-2 here, the lowest HP value being at 73. We don't expect anyone to be tanking too hard. If anything, Saint would be the person we'd be worried about, but he's still, kind of vibing here at 75 HP, and we'll continue to check in on that because, of course, his board looked really, really weak when we left him, but I'm sure he'll be able to stabilize eventually, unless he just gets locked in Fortune Prison forever.
Vibing on a loss streak with 2 fortune is definitely a little bit concerning for sure. And then meanwhile, Cottontail has 6 Lissandra already, so we'll see that if he's able to hit the Lissandra 3 more naturally without wasting too much gold. And I'm actually very curious to see our win streaker soon, to see that what have they been building in order to stay super strong ahead of the competition.
Yeah, Hobos absolutely is who I'm interested in catching soon because, still at 100 HP. Well, we'll see in a second here. Yeah, he's still continuing that win streak. And so he's just been dominant. As we do see some scouting here, we might get a glimpse. Not enough time. These guys are too quick for my eyes. I can't pick up enough when they're going through, but we are going to jump over to Hobos and be able to check out Cultist again. So this is a trend we're seeing through this lobby. The people having a lot of success seem to be Cultist players in this early game.
A lot of people hit their Cultist Chosens, I suppose. And then also here we see that Hobos here have hit the Jin as well at level, I wonder if he hit it at level 6 or level 5. I believe it was level 5, and that's why he's just so strong since he has the Jin super early.
Yeah, I mean, is there any world we actually see Cultists continue to be played by Hobos, or is this still just going to be that 4-1 full pivot into a 4-cost Chosen that we're so incredibly used to seeing?
I have not seen a 9 Cultist or even 6 Cultist be in the late game for 50 games now.
It's been a long time. It's been a long time.
So, I mean, if it does happen, I'll be really excited to see how it would do against, because there's definitely going to be one player in each lobby that goes for Ashe or the Talon. Yeah. And I would like to see how they contest over it. But as of right now, Cultist has definitely been a really strong early to mid start, but then falls off dramatically, I would say, even prior to rolls.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the reason we don't see it is it does feel like it can't contend with a lot of those 4-cost Chosen strategies. And I suppose that just utilizing this massive win streak should afford Hobos the opportunity to find really any direction he wants to go. And we saw that IE, so we might be seeing, that Talon be the direction that Hobos wants to go. But I guess that still also can work for the Ashe as well. You still kind of want that IE.
Yeah, but IE is honestly a perfect item for the Talon. So I'm curious as well. With a Cultist, it's actually much easier to pivot into Riven. But as mentioned before, Riven as well has also fallen off. And you really do need a Bramble in order to go against all these AD comps, which Chain Vest is not available here. So he grabs a Rod.
Yeah, no Chain Vest. Can't get the Bramble. And it does feel like you need that for Riven right now, considering all the other DPS options. A lot of auto attackers out there. And, I've seen Ashes absolutely decimate Rivens when they're trying to actually get anything done. So I feel like that Bramble Vest is almost a necessity. I feel like you almost can't be running that Riven without it. And I think that Hobos can afford to not force himself into something that's suboptimal. I think, he's going to really be able to have his pick of the litter when it comes to these 4-cost Chosens, considering, he's still at this 100 HP. He's moving towards that 4-1 very soon. He's already leveled to 7. Of course, he's only on 30 gold, so he's going to want to econ back up a little bit, but I think he's afforded the time as he goes through into Wolves, continues to econ there, and then eventually looks for that roll down.
The level up here is really smart of Hobos because obviously if he is able to win the next 2 games, then he just gains those money right back. The win streak is just so much here. And he actually gets an extra 3 to 2 turns over the other competitors to hit a he needs to sell his chosen at least for that, which I don't think he's doing. It seems like he might be actually going for 6 cultists. So he's not gonna be hitting that chosen. We'll have to see on the neutral rounds if he will sell the Elise or not, or he's going to run.
He just hit Callista, so I think we're gonna see potentially 6 cultists being played for a little bit, as I think that was one that he was missing. But we're gonna check in with Kurum here. We haven't really checked in on him, and that is an adept chosen Aurelia. That's pretty powerful for the front line, but of course, doesn't allow him to go for a chosen 4 cost if he wants to keep this, but he doesn't necessarily have to keep it. He can find Adept later with Yone to use as a front line, and this will just be powerful for now to give him that very powerful ability in the early game on this strong 2-star unit.
Yeah, Irelia can definitely carry throughout the early stages of stage 4. So I'm curious to see if he will keep it or not, if he will greed it out for the... So that's the question, right? Like, how much do you greed for your level 7 for cost chosen? Do you do it super early at 4-1 where it's optimal? Or do you save a few gold and you wait it out a little bit just so you're not tanking your econ completely, just rolling down?
Yeah, and well, I actually think Kurum's board looks pretty strong right now. We just saw him go against Hobos, who just hit the 6 cultist power spike. So that was a massive Galio coming in, doing so much. And it was actually still a fairly close fight, considering the fact that Hobos is so incredibly strong right now. So I think Kurum's in a pretty decent spot. And it will be interesting to see if he does go for that quick roll down like you were talking about on the 4-1, or if he decides to, just chill out for a little bit with this Adept chosen, as it is, such a powerful synergy right now.
Yep, and we do see the GA and IE coming through as well, setting up for both Ashe, and he hit the work as well. So leaning towards Ashe right now, but if he hits the Talon, then he'll go for the Talon too.
Yeah.
So it's just a question of which unit you hit tier 2 first, either Talon or the Ashe.
Well, and importantly, this is Kurum not going for the chosen. He's just going for the unit itself and keeping the Adept in as chosen, so they can just be the Aurelia, at least for the time being. So this is pretty cool to see from Kurum because he did roll down so much gold. Like, this was not, if he wanted to look for that 4-cost chosen, he obviously needed to save a little bit more gold here. He does have a lot of gold on the bench that he can sell back up if he decides what he wants, but yeah, he's sticking with that talent, and he's keeping the Aurelia in for now with that Adept bonus or the Adept synergy being there with just the 1 unit.
And then we see here, so a unit that lost its formal glory, Ari. So Cottontail actually just chose the first 4-cost chosen. I believe that was a tier 2 Ari, but it was still not enough for the tier 1 Talon with GA and IE.
Yeah, I mean, Talon showing up like the beast he is. We really expect Talon and Ashe to be the main offenders tonight, to be the main carries that we're going to see in these compositions. And Kurum even valuing, just this 1-star Talon, knowing that, hey, this is going to be powerful enough, and the Adept synergy is going to be worth keeping around. And yeah, Talon with IE and GA, incredibly strong. And it's working out really well for Kurum already. 76 HP, I think he's pretty comfortable here. He does have a good amount of gold, and he can start continuing to look for this 2-star Talon as this game continues.
Yeah, during the quick scout just now, almost half the lobby is just full of Talons and Ashe. And then we actually saw Hobos. I believe he was still sticking with Cultist, and he leveled to 8 on floor 2. So I wonder if we'll have our first historical 100 HP victory. And Kurum here is about to take a very drastic hit from the Ashe.
Yeah, Ashe going to be able to push through. This is another tier 1 Ashe. This is being played by Saint here. He actually just picks up the win over Kurum. And we're going to jump over to Saint's board to check out a little bit more, as he has hit level 7. And does he have a chosen Shen? Yes. Okay, Adept chosen. That once again, we're going to see that, and then the Ashe carry. So a lot of Adept. This is another thing. I guess we didn't really talk about this too much at the top of the show, but Adept has been very powerful right now. This is something we'll see teched into a lot of different compositions with different carries, even just because of how strong the synergy is. And we see 3 Adept here for Saint, as he's got this Shen in the front line. and just gotta protect the Ashe. Try and find that 2-star Ashe to try and push himself out of this bottom 2 that he is in right now. But his board looks pretty strong.
Yeah, not only is Adepts a good synergy by itself, the units themselves are great. Irelia, solid early to mid game that has CC. Shen, that was okay. And then Shen with also CC as well, and a big shield and tank, and Yone who can dominate all, and Cottontail now taking the win over saintvicious.
Yeah, I was going to say the Ari finally coming in clutch for Cottontail, but really I think it was the Sejuani and the Aatrox just taking control of the board there, all the
that
crowd
Yone.
control. Oh,
He
yeah,
got it.
Yone with a spat. I wonder, I mean, I know it's more so for the Yone here. That's a fawn on the bench, right? So this spat might be kind of dead, but the Yone is certainly exactly what Saint wanted. He can go for Adept. I mean, there's potential for that right now.
Saint is in a tough spot right now. Like, sure, it might look good because you see that like big, beefy Shen in the front line, the chosen Shen. But if you look outside of that, all his units are tier 1. And hitting this Yone here would be really great for Saint, but I don't know if it will be enough unless he is able to hit some tier 2 units, especially the Ashe or the Warwick.
Okay, there's probably the least valuable tier 2 that he had available, but now the Warwick is picked up, and that's massive for saintvicious here. Really, the Ashe though is the biggest one. That's the main thing we want to look out for on Saint's board is can he hit the tier 2 Ashe? But I wonder if these upgrades, going to 4 Adept, picking up the Warwick 2, picking up the Nunu 2, to a lesser extent, if that's going to be enough for him to find a win. And he's going against Hobos, so this is going to be tough. Hobos still at 100 HP as they go for the fight. I'm watching the Ashe in the back line. It's able to be very safe so far and constantly getting out the damage, and Morgana hits onto everybody. I think this 4 Adept buff just is so insane. It has done so much work in this fight in basically not allowing Hobo's board to even play the game. And Ashe was able to do enough damage past that to carry it through, and Saint has scaled to some extent because Hobos is also at the point where, he's falling off with this cultist build.
Right, and to be fair, Hobos did just push for fast 8, and he still has plenty of gold, I believe, so Hobos will be fine. And yep, he still has 50 gold and 92 HP, so he's in a solid spot. Versus Saint actually rolled down a lot of gold on level 7 still, so it's a dangerous spot where he is maintaining more HP, and that roll down was crucial, but he tanked down to 20 gold for that, and he's going to be at level 7 for a little bit, while all his competitors will be at level 8 and being able to roll down more gold than he does.
Yeah, and 1109 with the Elderwood spat on the tier 2 Kindred. Going to be giving some extra Elderwood buff as he's got his own Ashe in the back line, but Ashe versus Ashe, and there's still a front line remaining for Saint. And yeah, I mean, Saint's hitting his peak while some of the other players are hitting some of their dips while they still have a lot of gold left. And Saint's not winning by a very large margin. So I do still worry for Saint a lot in the spot he's in right now. A lot of these fights are still very close after he spent a lot of gold and hurt his econ significantly. We'll see if he can find some really good items. Are there any perfect items here, considering he's got a spat on the Yone and then has one slot open for Ashe? If you could ask for any items in the game, what would you be asking for if you're saintvicious here?
I would probably go for Last Whisper for the Ashe. If not, Hodge or BT would also work. Any items to throw on the Yone is fine as well. I don't even care for another fawn, to be honest, just because he already has one and he desperately needs to push out more damage. The Yone, getting it on Carousel definitely helped out Saint a lot. And we see here he levels to 8 and has 10 gold to roll down.
Okay. Yeah.
So I mean, Azir is a really great unit. Tanks up more for you, but that is still Ashe 1, which is your crucial carry, and then the Yone has no items. He hit another IE, which is unnecessary for the Ashe, so he makes the Divine Yone.
Okay, so gets to go to 4 Divine. That might help the Warwick out a little bit. It's not huge, but it is something. And we did see Dazzler get added here, so if he can get to that Morgana too and maybe get that early cast out, I think that can be very impactful alongside the Adept to try and follow up on that debuff with yet another debuff. But I don't know, KCI looking pretty powerful here, pretty ahead in this fight already, but the Ashe is still alive for a little bit longer. GA is not going to be enough, though. That's a big heal. I think there's a redemption somewhere that I missed, and KCI is looking really strong in this spot, still running more cultists. Cultists are just rampant everywhere, but it looks like a Riven carry for KCI alongside the Jhin.
Yeah, I'm really surprised to see Cultist doing so well at such late of the stage 5-2 and not really pivoting to anything else. So I'm curious to see how this will play out.
Yeah,
Doing a little bit of scouting here to see, as you mentioned before, both top 2 player running Cultist.
Yeah.
So that is the variety that we want to see, right? And then we have the Ashe and Talon players at the bottom half.
Yeah, this is a kind of not exactly what we expected, right? Where, Cultists, we do expect to do well in the early game. So once we saw these boards, it did make sense, but it's just not like Cultist domination was anything that we were really thinking about when we were going into the night. And so far, that's just how it's working out for KCI and Hobos. And we're going to see as another Ashe getting dominated by the Cultists, getting beat down 1109.
Level 9 playing the Brawler variation, which is definitely less contested, but not as strong as the Aurelia Shen Adept version. So we do see this taking quite a hit. And we just saw that Jhin and Azir super safe in the back there. The units didn't even go near them, and Jhin just pushed out so much damage.
Yeah, I mean, Jhin is being spectacular here. It's been a minute since Jin's reign as the dominant carry. But he seems to be sufficing. Don't need Ashe, don't need Talon. Everyone's going for that. I'll just play Jhin, says KCI, and he's sitting at the top of the table. And these fights have been pretty one-sided for KCI so far, and he's being able to ramp up even more gold. And he's got some pretty key upgrades that he can still find. The Cassiopeia upgrade, maybe an Azir 2 down the line, could be pretty solid as well. So there's still room for this board to get even stronger for KCI.
The Talon just jumped right onto the Jhin.
Yeah. I mean, Talon can still turn this around, but there is a secondary carry, an auxiliary carry for KCI in this Riven, and she's going to be able to clean up the rest of the board. So Kurum's still not able to win, even with Talon saying, nope, there goes your carry, going to take out your Jhin instantly. There's still enough pressure from KCI's board, and he's really primed for this game to take a top 4 or even, a top 1 in this lobby, as we actually see Saint going fast 8th here, actually going to go out on this last round. 1109, barely hanging on at 6 health. Going to be at least securing 7th because Saint is going to be 8th place in this first lobby.
Yep, I'm curious to see if he grabs the Cultisilian or the Chalice, but it seems like Kurum is about to steal that, per se. Yep. Didn't want to give KCI that. So these items are definitely not great. You definitely don't care for the Mage Cap. So the Shojin for this year or the Frozen Heart for your front line. Frozen Heart, I might just throw on the Riven or the Aatrox, but let's see what KCI does.
Yeah, we'll see. We do have that Frozen Heart gonna be available. I mean, I assume this is getting sold. It's all about
Pike? Oh, to get the instant ult and the CC. Okay.
Yeah, okay. I like that. I do like that. I think, Pike is also generally going to be getting towards that backline. Like you said, the instant, ult in. But it may be able to apply that Frozen Heart to more priority targets than the Aatrox. I mean, Aatrox, of course, when he ults in is going to apply it, but maybe the Pike is getting it more instantly. And that might be what KCI is looking for. So
Hobos here with a Ezreal 2 double Chalice that just ulted immediately at the start of the fight. So
yeah,
that was
that's massive.
Strong.
Oh, it got the second ult off. It was actually, this fight started to get very close. And then that second True Shot Barrage from the Ezreal coming across the entire team and wiping out the rest of them. So very, very powerful board.
All the units that was alive was Set 2, Morgana 2, and Ezreal 2. So those are 2 of the strongest Dazzlers in the first place. And not only that, you have all 3 units doing AoE damage. And so that the team just slowly got demolished.
Yeah, I mean, slowly is
was not the right word.
one way to put it. Because it did take 2 full Ezreal ults to get there. So, it wasn't instantaneous, but the second that came back around, that Ezreal is just massive. And I'm excited to see, tier 2 Ezreal is going to be really, really scary just existing in this game. I think nobody wants to be running into that right now. And well, Spencer's got one too, it looks like, in the back. So KCI is going tier 2 Ezreal into tier 2 Ezreal. And he's getting pulled in, though. So the Ezreal's not in a great spot. However, that True Shot Barrage is going to land across most of the board as this Ashe got pulled forward as well, but then was untouched after the fact and just sat here firing away. So Spencer's board looking quite scary. Has that tier 2 Ashe. Great items on her alongside that tier 2 Ezreal as we see 1109 falling in that previous round as well.
I'm actually doubting myself now a little bit just because the fact that right now the top two players are Hobos and KCI. Granted, these are players that had cultists right from the very start, right? And so the fact that they just snowball with just so much gold ahead of their opponents is why they're still in the top two. So I'm very curious to see that will this comp fall off even more now that these Action Talent players are hitting their tier twos? Or will they push through? Because, well, we did see, at least for Hobos, he did hit that tier 2 Ezreal, Set, and Morgana. So he's just running a really strong Dazzler build and legendaries, versus KCI is sticking with a more generic cultist build.
Yeah, I think the big difference was how high Hobo's high rolled on the cultists in the early game. He was able to hit a lot of it very naturally and was able to then convert that into just a lot of econ, just a great economy as he continued through this game. So while navigating through this game, he's been able to pivot wherever he wants to. You know, like you said, finding that Morgana, finding these legendary units, these tier 2, these 2-star legendary units in the Ezreal, the picking up the Set. Hobo's just has an incredibly powerful board because of that, while KCI, I think, had to work a little bit more for those cultists early on, which has caused him to start to fall off harder than Hobos has at this point in the game. And we may see some of these lower health players, you know, Spencer on a big win streak, might be able to come back and start taking down KCI, whereas Hobos, we're watching right now, go up against Cottontail, might still be able to win this. I mean, the Yone being tier 2, just massive. He's just so strong
Oh
in every
no.
aspect. And wow, Cottontail is just going to get decimated by Hobos there and drop
That's
all the
three
way
tier
down.
2 legendaries there. Hobos is incredibly strong right now. Yone 2, Set 2, and then Ezreal 2. Like, can you beat this comp?
Yeah, I don't know if Hobos can be beaten at this point. I do think he's scaled so effectively with the economy he was able to build that I think that with all of these 2-star legendary units, I think the composition is going to be too strong. As we look at the rest of these boards, you know, we see Kurumx is being scouted. He's got the Talon, it's very powerful. He's got the Morgana as well. I don't know if he's going to be strong enough to beat Hobos. And KCI, I think, is almost certainly not strong enough. I think we're going to see basically just a decimation of KCI's board as we see that first Ezreal ult come across. That's that True Shot Barrage. He's got one more coming out in just a moment. The stuns have been great, though, but Ezreal does still get the cast. Actually, this is a lot closer than I expected. In fact, KCI might be able to just take this. That is the Set 2 still alive with the Sunfire cape. We'll see if he gets another slam, but no. I Caster Curse potentially. I guess I was just wrong. KCI was able to take that win. I really thought Hobo's board was much stronger as we see Kurumx eliminated in fourth as Spencer has been on a tear continuing this win streak, but maybe Spencer's the dark horse here. We haven't been able to check in as much on him, but he's on a win streak going into these final legs, and he was playing for those compositions that we talked about. I think he is one of the Ashe players.
And I love what Hobo is actually doing here right now. He just picked up all the legendaries and he just wants to tier 2 every single legendary. So that's just what happens when you have such a great start and so much gold compared to other competitors. You just go, forget the meta of Ashe and Talon. I will just pick up every single tier 2 5-star units.
Yeah, I guess so, right? And he's going up against the ghost of Spencer. So we'll get a kind of a preview on if Spencer's board is doing well against Hobos. And it looks like it's doing all right. You know, that Ashe in the back is still being extremely strong, but not quite enough to take down Hobos. And I'm curious if KCI was able to beat Spencer here as well. Looks like he was, but a close fight. Spencer's still hanging on 5 HP.
I believe Spencer is definitely the underdog compared to KCI and Hobos. KCI and Hobos, as we had multiple times before, those two have gotten the best lead from the very start of the game, and they were able to just kind of snowball and played really well to keep that econ up and those win streak. I am super curious to see what the change was for KCI that allowed him to beat Hobos in that round. He does have the Zillion now, which he did not have previously.
Yeah, the Zillion being added in, I am curious if that was enough. It is interesting because it went from KCI feeling like he was the weakest in this lobby remaining, and then suddenly he's beating everybody. So I'm with you. I kind of missed the change, the shift on his board that has caused such a big difference. And I know we've seen Riven surviving towards the end. I wonder if there was a third item that was put onto Riven that was maybe different, that we didn't see prior, that maybe was helping to make some of that difference. But Spencer is going to be fighting for his life here against Hobos. The Ezreal's ulting back and forth, and he's going to be he's going to be scouting a little bit, trying to find if KCI is still the strongest. But this is a very, very close fight between Spencer and Hobos as the Ashe finishes off the Ezreal, and now it's Set versus Ezreal pretty much, as there is still just a Yone remaining.
Oh,
and one
this
set.
is the end. Oh no.
Spencer, very close, but Hobos is going to be able to take him down, and Spencer's going to finish third in the first lobby, which is still very good finish for lobby 1. Can we start getting you there? But yeah, Hobos, they said, hey, which 5 cost did you want? And Hobos said yes.
The only one that's not getting any love is Lilia 2, which fair point. No one runs Lilia anymore. But other than that, I think he has every single. Oh, and Lee Sin. Lilia, right. This meta is a little weaker, but every other 5 cost, Hobos is like, give it to me. We'll take it.
Yeah, it's crazy. He has all the best ones. He has all of the best ones on his board, and they're all 2-star. So if KCI can win this, and I think it was actually that Titan's Resolve completion on the Riven was one of the big factors, but also the Zilean is going to be helping out a lot as we see a lot of damage coming out. I'm watching that Riven as she gets into the back line here, but almost goes down. And yes, the Azir is going to take her down with the Ezreal still firing away True Shot barrages. I still don't think these respawns are going to be enough for KCI, but he might have one more game after this one.
I mean, at this point, I don't think Hobo can lose, to be honest. Like, KCI, the one fight that he won, first of all, Hobos had only half the legendaries that he had, which was insane. It was still 3. But also, other than that, I think he got a really lucky start with the Pike on the other side and got a perfect stun off, which is not occurring in these fights anymore. After these changes of legendaries, you have the Kayn jumping into the back line, and we have Yone jumping as well, Set grabbing a unit and jumping somewhere else. Like, all these units are just spreading out all over the place, and they all do massive damage to the enemy team.
Yeah, I mean, you can't pick a carry for this lineup from Hobos. There's so many of his units are actually able to carry these fights. So even if you kill one, there's still so many more threats that you have to deal with. And I mean, he just continues to find legendary after legendary. I don't know if he's going to be looking for a 3-star at some point, or if he just wants to deny whatever he can, as the Rost is finally going to be completed. And the Sunfire game, I mean, where do you want it? Where do you want it, Hobos? I mean, it goes to the Kayn, but it can kind of go anywhere at this point. I agree with you. I don't think KCI can win, but the last time I said that, he actually ended up taking it over Hobos, so we'll see. I fully expect Hobos to just be able to clean this one up. And like you mentioned, the stun, we don't see that happen from the Pike, and we see the Yone jumping through, dealing so much damage alongside these True Shot barrages. And Hobos is just cleaning house at this point, going to be healing everything up. And yeah, that's going to be lobby 1 going over to Hobos with the cultist start into that massive econ, leaning into just, a mixed bag of legendary units at 2 stars. I mean, Hobos really, really well played and well executed from that early advantage.
What an insane game. When we were talking what we expected to see today, we said talent, we said Ashe. We did not say 6 2-tier legendaries on a single board. And Hobos was like, I got you, right? And he was able, there was only one talent player, I believe, which was Kurumx, and he actually landed in 4th place. And all the other Ashe players were just spread out between the bottom 4, and I believe Spencer was the 3rd place.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. We talked at the top of the show, this is going to be all about the 4-cost chosen. Well, instead, it was actually all about the 5-cost 2-star is, in fact, the way that you should be playing this patch, according to Hobos here. You don't scale into 4-1, don't scale into 4-cost, scale further than that, and find all of those 5-cost units.
Yep, so let's take a look at these scores to see where the standings are. As expected, we have Hobos here with 10 points, and then KCI with 8 points. So those two both had the cultist start, which was amazing, and they were able to keep that lead and ramp up all the way to late game. So no one here is able to win the tournament yet because they do need to hit that 24 points mark first before eligible for the first place win. But we'll see. That is quite the lead. First game really brings up the momentum, doesn't it, Casa?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you don't want to be in Saint's position, right, where you get 8th in the first game, and then you're just behind in that race to 24 to start trying to actually win. But Saint can, of course, pull it back. You know, we've seen 8th place to first place happen plenty of times in TFT tournaments, and Saint absolutely is not out of this tournament whatsoever yet. But, you know, you feel good. If you scored pretty much anywhere in the top 4, I think in this format, you're feeling all right because you should be in a reasonable spot to try and make it to 24 points by round 3 or round 4.
Yeah, and I do love the flexibility that we have been seeing. We'll be hopping into game 2 very shortly. As mentioned before, KCI and Hobos both started off with Cultists, and that is something that they kept until mid to late game. So that's the flexibility that we're looking for, right? We were a little concerned that we would just see Ashe, Talon, first place, right? But that was not the case. These players use something different outside the meta, and they just play the strongest board to contest over these other players.
Yeah, and, you know, of course, that was a bit of a high roll for Hobos being able to just stick on the Cultist.
Just a bit of a high roll.
with the naturals, so he was able to econ so well, you know, at that point. And even though he didn't, you know, natural and get the most insane 5 costs, it's just he had the lead afforded to him with the economy that allowed him to do that. So it looked even more egregious because of the early game high rolling. And we'll see how Hobos likes to play in a position that is maybe more stunted later on, unless he just keeps up that train. I'm sure Hobos is hoping that he's able to just have a couple of games like that and be able to just take this one home. But yeah, a lot of these other players having to be a lot more flexible in the early game. And we saw a lot of really good play. I think Spencer really stood out to me, getting 3rd there, surviving on low HP for a very long time and almost bringing it all the way back. KCI, though, sticking with the Cultist, even though he wasn't as blessed as Hobos was, and still making it work was really cool to see, especially because Cultist was really just not at all what I expected to see as we got deeper into the games.
Yep. So seeing how Hobos kind of became the inspiration of what was going on, even KCI, right, running Cultists into that 2nd place. I wonder how these other players will approach game 2 now. As you saw, we did see a lot of Ashe or Talon forces, especially Ashe in that last game. More contention means that you probably might not hit your Ashe too, and that might lead to a 7th or a 6th place. So would players still stick to that path and hope to hit that Ashe 2 or Talon 2, or will they learn from KCI or Hobo and just try to play a little bit more flexible, so that even if you don't hit those type of comps, you're still able to go for the top 4?
Yeah, just finding a different comp that's completely uncontested might work. You know, in this case, Cultist was contested between 2 players, but it's a composition that you can get away with not having to hit every single unit as high tier. You just need to get the synergy, because we saw the 6 Cultists being so effective with that Galio. So maybe we do see some things. You know, there are some reroll Moonlight comps. There are some other comps that start out early game. You know, Warlords, if you really high roll them early on. There are some other opportunities for these players to pivot into things that are a little bit different. I don't really expect to see a repeat of game 1 with, you know, Cultist being run pretty much the entire game. I mean, in KCI's case, I think he did even have it in at the end of the game. I don't expect a full run like that to happen necessarily, but it's always possible. Like, we did just see it. We could see someone else high roll a different variation of a different comp that we didn't expect to see, and it could still run the table.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting. And also, one thing I was surprised about is actually the Riven. So Riven, at least when I try out, I have it seen like be shredded completely by the enemy units. But with correct positioning and pairing out with different type of synergies, Riven was actually the last unit surviving for most of those rounds. I believe Keeper was being ran with it in order for those extra shields to go on, and she pushed out a lot of damage. So it's not your traditional dust comp with just your Cassiopeia and then your Shen. But you're actually running a lot of different units combined together in order to make her shine.
Yeah, the Riven was very impressive. I think KCI definitely was brought back by that Riven carry. He had that diversity of threats that was really working well for him. The Jhin alongside the Riven, both with great items, I think really helped him push through that mid-game hurdle that he may have had against a lot of the Talons, against the the Ashes. You know, we saw the Talon actually take out his Jhin immediately in one of those games at the very start, and Riven was able to carry it through and still win. So I like the potential diversity of threats as well coming out of people. You know, maybe it isn't just Ashe or just Talon. Maybe you're adding in something else that can help carry through, especially if you have a lot of carry items and less of the tanky frontline items for just being thrown around on your adepts.
Yeah, I'm actually very curious for one of the players. Kurumx, as you mentioned, it was the talent player. And I believe he was one of the sole talent players in the lobby. He still ended up fourth, but sometimes even with the perfect RNG, as you mentioned, hitting onto that Jhin immediately looked really great at the start, but then the Riven came through and actually destroyed the talent. So that's just something that is positioning that's really important, that you could get the start, but then maybe later on it doesn't work out for you. So we will have to see if Kurumx continues the Talon playstyle, the Talon versus Ashe, or he tries something new as well.
Yeah, I mean, it absolutely made sense to go Talon in that game. You know, obviously Talon's like one of the best, and the fact that it wasn't contested makes me surprised that Kurumx only got fourth. It just goes to show how strong these cultist boards were. Actually, funny enough, that they were just able to still beat Kurumx. I think he even fell actually to Spencer, who was one of the Ashe boards. Which is kind of interesting to see. I think it was maybe that 2-star Ezreal that was able to really help out by healing through some of it, reducing that attack speed, maybe helped blow up that Talon really early on in the fight. It did happen off screen, so we weren't exactly sure how Kurumx did fall, but yeah, I mean, the fact was Talon just was not able to be strong enough to carry through, and that was the highest placement of a Talon in the lobby, was fourth place, whereas we may have expected to see Ashes and Talons making up our top three, making up our top two. But, you know, I digress. We're going to move on to game number 2, as we're going to jump straight into the carousel. We're going to have Spencer's POV. He got third in the last lobby playing Ashe, and we see him pick up a sword. No, wait. Yes, sword to kick things off. Carousels can be so hectic. I saw him and KCI run through what looked like the same thing, and then they came out on different sides. But yeah, so Spencer, gonna grab that sword to kick things off.
Great start for Ashe or the talent build, as mentioned before. And Spencer did perform really well, hitting third place in the last matchup with against 2 players with a insane gold lead over him. So we'll have to see how he does this round and if he will perform just as great.
Yeah, we will have to see. I mean, the early game is just all about items, right? We're going to see what people are picking up off of these rounds, or the high econ. You know, we did see, I believe it was KCI with a lot of gold off of the first round of creeps, but that's just going to be a Negatron cloak going over to Spencer, and he's got a couple Moonlight available.
Seeing Lissandra in your early shop is definitely a happy moment, just because reroll Lissandra or just having her there as a Dazzler is such a good unit, just because she is one of those rare one-cost units that does AoE damage and can also slow the unit. So multiple benefits for her.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we've talked up Moonlight a lot actually, but we haven't gotten a chance to see, you know, a Moonlight board stick around for more than just the first couple rounds. Wow, that's a lot of gold this time. You know, we see both the Yuumi and the Nunu. And the Nunu actually, you know, because there was that Maokai in the shop, that sets up for, you know, either an early Elderwood, but definitely an early Brawler for Spencer to try and have a stronger board. And he does hit the Lissandra as well as couple Dianas, so Moonlight's looking kind of okay so far to start out.
But then he just scouted and saw that someone else hit a chosen Lissandra, so he's looking at that going, a contestant for this reroll comp potentially.
That is a thinking emoji if I have ever seen one for Spencer. You kind of want to go for it, right? Because you hit this natural tier 2 very early on for the Lissandra. And so, you know, you could still find that Moonlight chosen. I mean, it's just they want him to play it. Really, the shop just wants him to play it really bad, because that's just tier 2 Diana and a Silas coming out for Spencer straight away.
So
no chosen though. No chosen.
No chosen, but this is a really strong start for him. And I'm sure that Spencer's going to be scouting a lot just to make sure to see how many Moonlight players there really is and how worth it for him. So by cross is usually when you kind of do the first math, right? Where how many Lissandras you have, how many Lissandras the opponent has, and how much gold you're able to roll down for it.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, I really do want to see a Moonlight game. Like, I want to see someone kind of stick with it for a while. I you know, feel like Spencer has a really good start here. So it would be cool to see him. But of course, like you mentioned, Kurumx, he's got to take stock of the situation, figure out if it makes sense to go there. And it would be made easier if Spencer would just hit a chosen Moonlight in just a second here. That would be I think that would make his decision a lot easier.
Well, we already did the caster blessing with him getting 6 gold in PvE round. We did this last time too, so we'll have to see. But I would take that 100% of the time.
Yeah, the Keeper Jarvan is pretty good.
Getting a tier 2 cost 2 unit on stage 2 is so great, and it also has Keeper on it with a shield. Yep. I would be selling that TF and and then switching it in. There we go.
Yeah, Jarvan is so good too, just as a unit on his own. He's very powerful. He is just a very good 2 cost, and I think like you said, it's on Keeper, which is just even better. Getting that shield on everything. I mean, this board is just gross for Spencer right now. This is so strong. And Saint saw the Cultist in the last game. He's like, well, Cultist got top 2 and I got 8th, so I think I'll go Cultist this time. So he's able to find that one in his shop. Of course, he's just playing what he finds. But yeah, it is Cultist showing up once again, and I think a Moonlight's going to be the name of this game. Cultist, that was last game. This time, you got to keep with the times.
We only follow the player who goes around 100% win streak from the very start of the game. We did it for KCI, and now we're doing it for Spencer here.
Yeah, we want to see what he's going for. We want to see if he sticks with this Moonlight. I'm really interested to see, the Kurumx decision. But of course, the fact that he's on a Keeper chosen means that it's more likely that he just stays on these Moonlights for the early influx of power that they're giving him, and then he's going to pivot away. I think it's less likely we see any kind of roll down towards them.
Yep, so right now he's just gauging to see if he's the strongest in the lobby, which I believe he is. There's 2 other lobby players that he was hovering around. That was the other player that had Lysandra 2 that was contested him, and then someone actually hit a Pike 2. I don't remember it was Assassin or Cultist, but if that is a Cultist Pike 2, that is someone that Spencer may lose to, because that's another tier 2 cost 2 unit.
Yeah, and so real quick, 1109 we just saw has Fortune in already. So he's going to lose a lot right now, but in a couple of rounds, I think we probably want to check in on 1109 and see how that Fortune's doing. Because right now he's just going to lose a lot. But maybe let's see, maybe like 3-2, maybe before that even. I mean, when do you think that Fortune's ever getting cashed in? Because right now, obviously, it's not very strong. But I wonder how many losses 1109 is going to bear on that, because it was all just one star Fortunes.
I won't lie, whenever I see someone play Fortune, or even myself, I want to greed to the 7 loss streak so much, and then just to see how many Nikos and legendaries I will hit once I win. However, you do take half your health when you do that, so it may not be the smartest play, but that is something that I would love to see as a viewer, right? Like, if 1109 will run that Fortune into a straight lose streak for a while.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to run the tables, and we're actually going to get 1109 here. We're going to take... Wait, it's a Fortune chosen. Oh, they want him to do it. Oh, the shop wants him to do it. Oh, man. Okay. I mean, there was a Jinx in that shop as well.
Yeah, he might not actually lose as much hitting a Fortune Annie, though. So that's the thing. Does he want to take it or not? Because does he want to cash in? Yep, he wants to cash in potentially. So he is going to make himself stronger, or so that he doesn't lose as much HP. Either one will work into his favor.
Yeah, I mean, this is great though. This is great. You either cash in or you lose less HP. I think it's a win-win, right? He's on 3 losses already, so cashing in is still a decent amount of gold. I think probably 1109 still wants to lose, but he wants those tight losses. And this one is a little better than it would have been. Let's just say that.
I was just gonna say, if the rocket went off, which it did, he was able to kill off pretty much all the units. The Elise, I don't think so because of the life steal.
Oh wow!
Nope,
okay,
there we go.
This is a great
perfect loss.
All right. Well, I like 1109's spot. I want to keep eyes on him because I think he will cash in soon, and I want to see when he cashes in. That's the 5th Fortune.
Is he running 6 Fortunes in the future?
Yeah, it's a Sejuani. I was like, what is the 6th Fortune? I'm trying to think about it, but I don't know if he's finding a Sejuani before he cashes in. But that would be just insanity if he was able to find that.
Okay, so he is afraid of winning here. So because of this, he's going to position the Jinx in front just to guarantee that loss. Okay, no, he's not doing that. I was curious for a moment.
Your point stands. I think your point stands. I think he was considering it. So he went for that positioning, trying to go for the loss. I think if I'm 1109, I want to lose, but barely here. And he might actually to Cottontail. I mean, the Annie still pretty strong, but we've got a cast coming out. Yeah, I think this
It
is
shouldn't
still
be
looking like
another
Cottontail winning.
perfect loss.
Yeah, he was even hovering a bow like he wanted to win, but I don't think that would have won either way. But that's a great loss. Like, these are great losses for 1109, and he will cash in. It's not an if he'll cash in, it's a when at this point, because I don't think he is that weak. He's so close on a lot of these.
If he hits that Jinx too, especially, then he becomes a pretty strong player. He has a tier already, so she can proc her ult quicker. And Jinx Sharpshooters is one of the strongest units, in my opinion, in the early to mid game.
Yeah, she is incredibly powerful early on. I was really hoping that it would keep the Katarina, and then we would just get the 420 no scope on the Sejuani and just pick it up natural roll and just slam the 6 fortune. But obviously that's like never going to happen. But
we saw that. We would just stick with 1109 every single round to see what fortune would give him.
My heart, if that actually could have happened. But it's such an unlikely scenario that, of course, selling the the Katarina to make econ. Yeah, that's the good play to do. But yeah, I mean, he did at natural a forecast with the Warwick here, so that could have been Sedge, right? Could have been Sedge.
One thing I do notice is that 1109 likes to hold brawlers a lot, even prior to hitting that Warwick. And so he was the one player that went for Brawler Ashe, which is considered weaker in the meta against Shen and Aurelius, but it is less contested. And if you hit that Shen early, could actually be really strong for the late game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was interesting to see for sure from 1109. And we'll see if he can. I mean, we'll see if he continues to go with this like brawler hold throughout the rest of the tournament. Like, we'll see if he continues every single time to hold brawlers. Because yeah, that is cool that you mentioned that, because he definitely has been holding on to a lot of brawlers.
And then one thing is, so we've been really focused on the fortune player, but we also have Nhantam and Kurum. I just jinxed you. We have Nhantam still sitting at 100 HP, and Kurum just took his loss, but he still went on a really solid 5 win streak prior to it.
Yeah, we got at this point. We have to stay on 11. Yes. We have to see. We need the payoff. We need the payoff for this one. We've been building it up so much. There's 6 losses already. And not that much, honestly, down to 65 HP is not that low considering. Like, these have been good losses.
Yeah, and so after one more loss is when we'll see if he decides to roll down immediately, or he's just going to do prior to the next neutral round.
All right. Come on, 1109. When's the win coming? I mean, it's 7, right? Is that the max on Fortune?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, that's what I thought as well. But one more loss and then you get it going against Kurum.
So that's the thing. Is he willing to tank extra damage just to econ a little bit more and wait until before neutrals to roll down? Or the second he hits those 7 losses, he's like, all right, I'm going for it. If I was in his spot, I think I would roll early just to confirm it as early as possible.
Yeah, well, if it is, 7 max at this point, yeah, 1109 doesn't want to lose anymore. So, like you mentioned, he could look to roll down, try and get a lot stronger, and then, ensure that win, gain all the gold back, get a lot more to go into the level 7 roll down for forecast chosen.
I think he's going to wait a little bit more because he wants to econ and hit level 7 first and before his cash in. So we're going to see him take potentially 2 more turns before he goes over to the roll down.
All right. I wonder who the opponent will be. We haven't seen him go against Spencer in a while here. Yep, there it is. Okay, so Spencer is going to be the opponent. And that is that Jarvan still on the board here as a chosen Jarvan. So incredibly strong with all those items. And yeah, still 1109, not going to be able to win this one. Spencer's one of the strongest in the lobby right now. Well, is the healthiest. I'm not sure if the board is the strongest, but that's an Ashe already behind this massive front line. And while Spencer doesn't have items for it, it's still pretty good here.
Oh man, I really don't know if I would have rolled down to cash in early, just because of the fact if he takes more losses, he's gonna be in the 30s, right? And he needs to really make sure that he hits something strong prior to the neutral rounds, or else he goes potentially low 30s or in the 20s, and then you're just in such a dangerous spot. Yes, you might hit some legendaries and become really strong, but you'll really have about 2 losses in you in the later stages if you get lucky, right? And go on an insane win streak with Fortune. It's still a 2 losses once you hit into the latter stage, like 5 or even early 6.
Yeah, 1109. I mean, he's got to find the win. He's got to find the win. We really want to see him get that payoff, get that payout coming in here. 8 losses in a row, but he's got a lot of gold to roll.
No, he's gonna find a fortune. So that's the thing. If he doesn't find a fortune, then sad.
Okay, there is a fortune. There is a fortune. And an Ezreal. And a Shen. And there's the Jinx too.
He's pivoting to. Okay.
I'm trying to. Okay, well, there's a lot going on. I'm curious if he can win with this.
I don't feel like it's strong enough. That's my concern. But he's against KCI, which doesn't have the strongest board either.
No, this looks winnable for sure. Yeah,
so this one actually big. He went against a good opponent, so I think he is able to cash out here. Lucky for her.
Yeah. This was KCI was a really good hit for 1109, and we get the payoff. We get the cash out.
If he didn't hit that Ezreal though at level 7, which is a 1% chance, I wonder if he could have won because he was putting a Shen or the Aurelia, which would have been a pretty good board.
The Ezreal was pretty good, and then also Jinx 2 was incredibly important here. So now we get the big package, all of it coming out, and that's
so let's see.
3 spats. 3 spats.
No gold though.
No gold.
And he passes the Shen as well.
The spats are gold.
Okay, he hits the Morgana.
Yeah, it's got to be fun because you're not leveling anytime soon.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Fawn is good, but I would have really loved to see some legendaries or to receive a lot more gold than this.
Okay, GA, Giant Slayer, and then you got a spat
just
left.
Slamming the items because you need to win streak from this point on.
And he's the Chosen Morgana, I think will help that as well. But okay, we'll see. 1109 might be able to win streak from here, but we did get to see the payoff, so we are happy. And now we can remember that there's 7 more players left in this game because I was very interested in seeing this fortune payout. But yeah, at the top of the table is Spencer. Still a lot of HP, 98. He's been win streaking ever since we saw him last. But also we've got Nhantam at 92. He's in 2nd place right now. He's got a brawler board and a couple of warlords still on the chosen middle. Okay, there it goes. Yeah, we are at kind of nearing that point in the game where you want to be getting rid of those and looking for your 4 cost chosen. So that's going to be Nhantam. Going to be pivoting.
After watching Hobo for so long, I am... Oh, sorry, not Hobo. 1109 for so long. I am concerned because 4-1, yeah, that's when the roll down happens and everyone else is going to get really strong. So yeah, he got strong enough for 2 turns, but we're going to see now, like, Nhantam sold his unit on 4-1. He's going to roll it down. Will he be extremely strong and just destroy everyone else? And I'm also curious to see Kurum's board as well to see. He hits a Nico here, a little bit of gold, and also a glove. The giant spell kind of is awful just because of the fact that he already has a giant spell, but it can still be made into a Morello's.
Yeah, and that's going to be a Vanguard chosen Sejuani for Nhantam. So very powerful for the board right now, just being able to get that 2-star Sejuani online. And right now, there is an Ashe here available for the carry, and Adept being able to be played as well. But still missing out on a lot of those 2 stars that I think Nhantam really wants to have this board be quite powerful, and is going to be playing Ahri as the carry, but she is just on a Jeweled Gauntlet, is only a 1-star, and it will be on the Sejuani to try and carry through. But yeah, I guess 1-star Ahri still pretty powerful at this stage in the game.
Got a really good old off there. And honestly, a Sejuani Vanguard is really good for stabilization just because it's such a strong front line. It has the CC, it has the tankiness you need. And so for a unit like Ahri, which is a little bit slower to build up, it gives her the chance to complete and annihilate the units.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if he can natural into that tier 2 Ahri, or if we'll be waiting a while for Nhantam to get there. Still has the option of Ashe if that is something that he hits, but of course, not good items for the Ashe right now. The dual gauntlet, of course, going to be a bit better on that Ahri. Yeah, I mean,
we have seen Ari being very on and off, as mentioned in the meta. Granted, it's very uncontested, so hitting Ari 2 should be a lot easier than the other carries. But even then, I think positioning is really key. A lot of times right now, why it's also not doing well in the meta is due to the fact that comps like these are usually pretty spread out. The Aatrox there did pull them all closer. Ari never got to ult, and the Talon player just destroys here.
Yeah, the Talon is just going to wreck through here, and the Giant Slayer going to help get through this Sejuani that is pretty much perma-stunning them, but eventually she'll go down. She's not going to be able to do enough damage to actually get through anyone on 1109. Looks actually quite strong here after finding that Talon.
Yep, Talon 2 and Morgana 2. He has a really solid build, and he's on the solid win streak after his fortune. So it looks like it did pay through for him, and he was able to pivot perfectly.
Yeah, and well, we look at the HP here, Risa, and Saint, once again,
oh no,
down at the bottom of the table, 19 health there. He got 8th in the last game, so I know he's certainly not trying to go 8th into 8th. I think it can be very hard to recover in this format if that is your start. But, you know, we'll just see if Saint can hold on a little bit. I think that's really just what it's going to come down to. Can he hold on long enough to bump up a few more points to keep him in the running for this game?
Right. But here's the thing too, though. As you mentioned, like 8 and 8 is never an ideal start for any format, to be honest. And it's usually really tough to come back. But this format is designed so that once you do hit the 24 points, so if you are able to stop other players from achieving that first place win for a while, you might be able to get at least that minimum of 24 points and then grabbing the first place for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, once people start hitting 24 points, just win. It doesn't matter if you have 24 points or not. If you win, no one else can. So that's just the way you have to look at it. If you have a bad early start, you just got to make sure you get some firsts as it continues on, as Saint drops down to 7. So I think we might be seeing him go pretty soon here. As we're going to check out Kurumx, who's also near the top of the table this time, had a 4th place in the previous game. And he's playing Hunter. He's got a Hunter chosen. He's got 4 Hunter in, so that's going to be the Ashe carry with the static Shiv, which was nerfed
has
recently.
A very unique strategy. I don't know if it's just for these couple of games or in general he does this, but he does keep his 3 cost chosen for a while before he sells it. In the previous game, it was his Irelia, and in this game, he is keeping his Kindred, which is working out because he gets that huge mid to late game spike. But from what we saw last game, there was issues in the late game where obviously that 3 cost chosen is not enough anymore, and he did go down to 4th place. But in terms of keeping his health high during stage 4, it keeps him in a really great place and at least maintaining the top 4 spot.
Yeah, I think it might work even better in this game because we noticed that there's an extra Ashe on the bench here for Kurumx. So if he finds that tier 2 Ashe, the tier 2 Warwick, he has that Shen frontline that is also tier 2'd. And I think that he's just going to be so powerful with some of these late game carries that he might be able to extend this mid game power spike that he gets by playing the 3 cost chosen to make it run even further and deeper into this game.
Yep. Against Talon player, though, with IGA, it is a little scary.
Yes.
So it's a question of will the Talon be able to get... Oh, no.
No,
the Kindred. Pulling through and protecting the Ashe.
Yeah, and the Ashe is still alive. So is the Kindred, and the Morgana's just not doing enough damage. Oh, no, Saintvicious. Saintvicious is going down already. Wait, no. 1 HP. It's still early enough in the game that he's able to survive that one. I thought he was for sure a goner. Oh, Saint.
I would be so sad if I was Saint right now. That Talon jumped to a backline, didn't bother with the Kindred or the Ashe, and then the Kindred just said bye.
Oh, no. I mean, Saint, I don't know if at 1 HP, if he's holding on until Cottontail goes down from 18. Like, this really is looking like an 8th once again, and that's going to be rough. But you know, Saint is a very good player. It'll be interesting to see if he can bring that back. I mean, what a story that would be. But for now, you know, we're looking at Kurumx. Got the 4th place in the last game, and he looks good in this one. I really do think his composition is strong, but another Talon player, and you mentioned how scary these Talons are for Kurumx right now, as it's jumping around for 1109, but it's dropped into the GA. The Ashe actually just pops it immediately, and now it's down to the Morgana. She's doing a lot of work, but not enough. The Kindred still able to pump out the most damage for Kurumx right now, even above the Ashe. Of course, it is a 1-star Ashe at this point, but that Hunter proc immediately out of the GA had Ashe just decimate that Talon. And even though you mentioned, Talon should be kind of hard for Kurumx right now, not having a GA. This is 2 Talon players in a row that Kurumx has been able to beat and maintain this win streak. And there's the Ashe.
There we go. So right now, position-wise was super important. Both times you saw a tier 1 Ashe was able to survive 2 Talon players. And I think a lot of it does have to deal with positioning, where even when it jumped onto the Nunu or the Work instead of the Ashe. And then the tier 2 Kindred Chosen is actually doing a lot more work than I expected. It's able to push through that damage and take out any units that come near the Ashe.
All right. And now a couple more items going to be able to be picked up for Kurumx. Nothing for the Ashe, not a third item. Probably, his ideal world is actually to just find that GA, right? It's going to be find that sword, find that.
Yeah, any defensive
chain
item,
vest.
honestly, at this point would be good for the Ashe. So even if you have to put a Trap Claw or a Quicksilver on the Ashe, just anything to tank her a little bit up. But that's something he's probably going to look for on the carousel instead. And now switching over to KCI here, he is building a BT onto his Talon, which is a chosen Talon that he got soon after Fortune. Oh, sorry, he was not the Fortune player, but he did hit the chosen Talon, and we'll have to see how he does against Hobos.
Yeah, can it go onto the Zillion straight away and actually gets it before the ult comes out, is about to be cast. So I think the Talon being able to get that immediately should actually ensure this victory for KCI, as the Talon's still just staying topped off with that Bloodthirster. And Hobo's going to take a lot of damage on this one, dropping down to 22. I wonder if Saint's going to live. Cottontail actually winning his round, and Saint going up against Nhantam. Oh no, Saint.
There we go.
He's able to get it.
Surviving with the 1 HP story.
Hanging on for dear life.
So right now, KCI doesn't have the perfect item, but that chosen Talon is really great for him. It's still a huge power spike. Against, there are a couple of other Talon players as well. I believe there's 3 in this lobby. So I'm curious to see if they all have very tier 2 their Talon as well, which we saw one there. We have Sharpshooters, Ari, and then another Talon player. So I think everyone has hit their Talon too.
Yeah, this is the year of the Talon for this one. I mean, last game we talked about how only one player, it was Kurumx that was playing the Talon, and this time it seems like everyone's got it. He's everyone's best friend. Friendship ended with Ashe. Talon is my new best friend, and we've got 1109 versus KCI here. Both Talons about to GA. They actually both go to the GA state, but I think this is advantaged to the Bloodthirster Talon, but the rest of the board stayed alive for 1109, but now the Talon trying to stay alive, the Bloodthirster doing a lot of work, but not quite enough. That Morellonomicon healing reduction actually coming in clutch there, being able to prevent that Bloodthirster from actually keeping KCI's Talon alive. I think that could have made the difference, as, even once we see that GA state, the Bloodthirster can be so impactful in those spots.
Yeah, KCI's Talon has a Bloodthirster, which is good for sustainability, versus the opponent that he just went against had more damage. So Talon actually jumped onto KCI's almost at the exact same time, but KCI's Talon wasn't able to push enough damage to one-hit KO their Talon, versus the enemy's Talon was able to shut off the GA earlier.
Yeah, and well, I feel bad. I feel like I counted out Saint a little too early. He's still sitting here on 1 HP. Maybe he can hold out past Hobos or Cottontail, who have dropped really low, but KCI going against Spencer. And if he gets a big loss here, 22 HP, actually not a lot left here in this lobby. And there's a Yone for Spencer, and that's a massive Ari Spirit Bomb coming out. The Talon trying to stay alive, no healing reduction. Actually, yes, there is a Morellonomicon that is going to be able to apply that. So the Talon is not going to be able to heal through this at this point. And I think the GA likely not going to be enough as another Spirit Bomb. KCI is going to go to very low, and Cottontail goes down. Saint
with the win streak.
Not 8 for Saint.
One thing though for KCI just now though, those items are just not it, to be honest. Just because of the fact that it was on the Sejuani for 3 ults, and the Sejuani just never died. And then it got pulled by the Aatrox, and he was hitting the Threshnik. So all these Vanguards, no Last Whisper. So the Talon just essentially stuck there, and he wasn't able to push through any of the units. And then I am curious about Saint now. What happened to the man that he is?
I'm worried that when we jump to him, he's just gonna
oh no,
die,
the Catholic curse.
But I do want to jump to Saint. I do want to see if we can get he's been fighting for this 1 HP. We really just counted him out too soon, and he's been hanging on for dear life down there at the bottom of the table as KCI picks up a Yone. That's gonna allow 3 Adept to be played here. But yeah, we're gonna jump to Saint. He's on the win streak. He's got 4 Assassin in. He's got his Dazzler chosen with the Morgana. She's also got the Assassin Spatter itself.
The Assassin Morgana.
She's gonna get in the back line, get that pull down.
That was what was needed.
Going against Spencer, a lot of items on that Yuumi, and that's an Ahri in the back line, but this Talon is going off. Lots of damage. The pull in from Aatrox. And the Talon's still getting out a lot of damage. That was a massive stun onto just about everything.
Oh, no.
The Spirit Bomb not able to kill off everyone, and the Morgana's still alive doing damage. I think Saint is still holding on once again as we see another stun come out.
It's not. We caster Kristen.
Ahri. No, Saint. The
Casa, what have you done?
I knew it would happen. I knew it would happen. But so many people died there, and Saint got 6th at the end of the day when it was all cut and dry. Hobos going down, KCI going down, Saint going down, Nhantam going down. 4 deaths on the round.
What a round indeed. Oh no. We cast a curse it to the extent where it affected 4 players at once.
And Saint comes away with a 6th. Nhantam gonna be the one taking 11 extra damage of overkill and going out in 7th. Hobos in 5th, and KCI barely squeaks into the top 4 there as he goes down as well. And now it's only 3 remaining as 1109, Spencer, and Kurumx remain. But Kurum looks so strong in this game. He still has the Kindred, and the Ashe is just popping off with these 3 aggressive items. And that was a couple of Talons that died off. So now it's just 1109, I believe, that is the final talent remaining. And that might bode really well for Kurum.
Yep, Kurum's Ghost is fighting Spencer right now, so we'll see from this fight. The Ahri, I think, it doesn't get the ult here, so yeah.
Yep.
Small loss though, so Kurum still has plenty of chances to come back. That was a really close game, and then he dominated against a Talon player.
Well, and also that was just the clone, right? So Kurum didn't actually take damage on that round. Kurum was able to still get the win, and it was a close loss, like you said. So Kurum could still beat 1109. It's still possible, or Spencer, I guess. Yeah, that was Spencer that he just lost to, or that his clone just lost to. But he could still beat Spencer. It was very close.
Yep. And then for Hunter and the Kindred, again, I'm just super surprised how much is really pulling through. We saw in the last fight, Kindred was the last one remaining, not the Ashe, and it's the one that was trying to carry the game alongside her.
Yeah. And a Quicksilver for Kurum. There's no one left that I love this Quicksilver on. It's the Ashe has full items. Kindred has full items. Could potentially put on someone who's got some CC, like the Yone. The Yone could get some value.
Yone, especially if we could 2-star him, would be an insanely great front line. And then other than that, yeah, as you mentioned before, ideally we do want it on one of those carries, but they're stacked already. And I think Kurum's approach is just to go full aggressive, right? Forget defensive items at this point.
Honestly.
He is going to lose the 100 proc here in order to go for the Divine play, which I don't know if I agree with just because of the fact there's no Dazzler. And there was a Ezreal as well. I would really love this play.
Yeah, purely just replacing the Warwick with a Lux, I think valuing the binding more than anything here, because it didn't really affect his synergies too much. And the Ashe stayed alive for so long there, even through the Spirit Bomb, it might be enough. Yeah, the Ahri dies, and that was a close fight once again for Kurum, but he comes out on top. And 1109 is starting to chip away at Spencer as well. So Kurum maintaining a very big health lead here, has 20 over Spencer and 50 over 1109 going into these late stages, while his economy has not suffered. He's at 70 gold, well 68, but he's gonna be able to go 9. I'm pretty confident in one of the next few rounds here, and then from there, I mean, just the world is his oyster. He can start to look at things like Hobos was in the last game. He can start trying to find some of those 5 costs, or at least trying to upgrade the rest of these units. Probably mostly the Yone is the main target.
Yeah, Kurum, right now the goal is definitely to just push her level 9, find yourself a Ezreal, and from there on, I think he just wins the lobby, because then at that he would have 3 Elderwood, and you would have the Dazzler as well. Ooh,
Yeah, he would be
Ari.
guaranteed. Yeah, once again, the Ashe just getting pulled in by the Aatrox, but staying alive for so long. And the Ari did a lot there to be able to just finish her off, getting 2 casts of that Spirit Bomb. And Kurum going to be taking a lot of damage in each of these rounds. At this point in the game, he really can't afford to lose too much. He can afford, a couple more rounds potentially. I think he can get to this carousel before the level up to afford his roll down to be a little bit more rich. And I think, like you said, hey, if he can hit that Ezreal, I think, this might just be a sealed deal for Kurum. But yeah, he's got to be a little bit careful these next few rounds.
Right, Kurum right now valuing less on the Adept. He really does want to keep the Divine just for that Ashe player, because it seems like he's really strong against 1109, which we will see here how that fares and where that talent goes. Directly onto the Ashe and takes down the Ashe. Kindred still staying alive, though, was able to get 1 proc off, but that was enough. I don't know if the position did not work out for him just because of the talent being right in the middle, and I'm sure that 1109 scouted ahead of time or to put that talent right where the Ashe was, so it wasn't as protected as before.
Yeah, the talent has absolutely scaled to the point where having no defensive item is really mattering for Kurum. Earlier on, he was able to get away with it, but I'm not sure if that's going to continue to happen. Spencer going to pick up a Frozen Heart, and that is going to be Kurum with a blue buff. Frozen Heart could go... Well, Spencer is the Ahri player. Does he have a good Frozen Heart target? Oh, yeah, the Aatrox can work pretty well for that, if that decides to be the choice for Spencer.
Level 9 hits you. Okay, so right now he might even put that onto the Sejuani.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Okay.
my. So wait,
These
that
are
was the
hits.
Ahri 1
I can't
carrying
believe
this
that.
whole time. I completely missed that Ahri 1 was able to do so well in this meta. Again and again, I'm being proven wrong. First, we have Cultists and Ribbons and lots of legendaries.
That explains why I was taking 2 casts every time to kill the Ashe. I was like, this Ahri is doing a little bit of underwhelming damage, but still, Spencer was able to win those rounds. And now, with the tier 2 Sejuani as well, I think that's going to be big. He's holding on to that Frozen Heart for quite a while, ends up slamming it onto the Aatrox, going to pull the Talon back, and now we start to see the Spirit Bombs come out. It's going to pop the GA state for the Talon straight away. And yeah, it's starting to look pretty good. We see the GA from the Ahri as well, and a final Spirit Bomb gonna be doing a ton of damage there, as it is just the Talon remaining, but he has no sustain, so he should not be able to win this one. Spencer is gonna drop 1109 down to 3 health, and Kurum has dropped down to 12, so now Spencer in commanding lead of the lobby, and Kurum, we're going to have to see if he's able to hit the things we said he needed to. He needs that Ezreal, he needs that Yone too. And there's the Yone too.
We'll have to see. Honestly, this Aatrox is doing so much work. So we saw one issue with Ahri was that she would ult the left side, right side, solo units. But that Aatrox with these full items has been proccing really quickly and able to group up more units so that Ahri can get her full damage out.
Yeah, I mean, it's been so impactful in these wins for Spencer, being able to pull back. And it works so well against the Talon because he's pulling the Talon all the way away from the Ahri with this positioning and then stacking the rest of the board for it. It's perfect. Look at that. And the Yone went through as well. Oh, it's beautiful. But Kurum is going to go down from that, assuredly.
And then 1109, I believe, wins his fight over there.
He does. But it was beautiful setup. I mean, that is that positioning we were just talking about. The Aatrox on the left side, pulling back the aggressive units that jump forward and bringing them into the fold with the entire backline of the rest of the composition, stacking them up so the entire comp was hit by the Spirit Bomb from Ahri, which just deleted them. And that allowed for Spencer to take down Kurumx and leave him in third. And now Spencer is primed to just take the lobby unless 1109 can pick up a couple wins in a row.
It's extremely hard right now because for 1109 to win, he needs that talent to be able to kill the Ari, right? But the issue is that the talent is positioned correctly on the side, but Spencer doesn't care because he has a Aatrox there that is able to pull that talent away immediately.
Yeah,
So
I
I'm
mean,
not too sure what level 9 can do.
It's beautiful. I think this is great play from Spencer. This is just a work of art. This board is a
Another
masterpiece. It's his magnum opus is this board right now. This beautiful piece of artwork that he has put in front of us, and it feels unbeatable at this point. But you know, every time I seem to say that, it ends up being a caster curse. But I don't know if that's going to happen this time around. We're going to see that Aatrox and with the get over here as they're all pulled together, and Ari's going to pop the Spirit Bomb to try and seal the deal on the second lobby of the day as we see the Guardian Angel popped for the talent as well as the Ari holding on a little bit longer as this Morgana stays alive. But it is very, very close as the Morgana finally goes down, and a very close fight for Spencer, but he picks up the win. And that's going to be a first and a third across 2 games for Spencer, really setting himself up nicely in this tournament to continue on into games 3 and game 4.
Another incredible win that was not expected, to be honest. Again, Talon Ashe, we always talk about it, but 2 games in a row now, the winner was not an Ashe or a Talon comp. So congrats to Spencer for that, giving him a solid lead into the games tonight.
Yeah, I mean, the positioning was gorgeous. That is what I absolutely loved. Is we're going to move over here to the scoreboard, take a look at where that puts us going into game 3. I mean, Spencer pretty close, actually approaching the 24 points. If he can get a third or higher, he'll be there in round 3. Whereas, you know, Hobos or KCI, if they get first, they will reach that 24-point threshold. Saintvicious in a little bit of trouble, Cottontail in a little bit of trouble right now, but we'll see if any of them or Nhantam even can try and start making a comeback when we get into game number 3.
Right. I mean, even a player like Saintvicious, yeah, scores of 4 in Cottontail, right? It's looking a little rough for them. However, if they are able to accumulate or at least stop other players, because game 3 right now, no one can still take home the victory, right? It's game 4 onwards that's concerning. So if they are able to just steal that first place spot, they'll put themselves into the 24 points and they'll be able to take home the lead afterwards. So we will have to see how the next games go. We will be entering into a 5-minute break and then we'll be going into game 3. Hello and welcome back to the Challenger Series. We're heading into Game 3 very shortly. These games have been so exciting so far, Casa. Like, we've seen so many unconventional comps. What has surprised you so far the most?
Well, the fact that we haven't seen an Ash or a Talon win. I mean, absolutely. It's, game one was cultist into just a smattering of legendaries. And then after that, we see an Ari win off of some brilliant positioning from Spencer. I absolutely have been extremely impressed by him so far in this tournament. He is currently sitting as the point leader with 17. And I think, if he keeps up the way he's been playing, I wouldn't be surprised to see Spencer take this whole thing today, because he's just been excellent across both of the first two games.
Yeah, right now we have 3 players who are all eligible and hitting that 24 points mark, Spencer being one of them. So I'm excited to see if any of them will hit that first to second or third place. I believe Spencer is the only one that is able to get third place and hit the 24 points mark, versus KCI and Hobos who need to get first place in order to hit 24. So those 3 players are to be looked out for, and I'm super excited to see how the other players will come back now. Players like Saintvicious had a pretty rough start, but even last game, right? It was 1 HP for what, like 6 rounds before we caster curse him. But what do you guys think of like underdog of like Saint in a format such as this one?
I mean, so the format does allow for you to come back a little bit better than some of the other formats. So if Saint is able to, say, for instance, go first in the next 2 games, first off, nobody else can win because you have to get first to win until you can reach 40 points, which is a ways away. But also, first actually puts him in the running for the game after that to be game winning potentially for Saints. So there are, opportunities for someone who even at 4 points can bring it all the way back. It just involves a lot of winning.
Yeah, and so if Saint goes 1-1-1 and comes back with a victory using 24 points threshold, he deserves it. Like, I don't care that he went 8-8 in the first 2 games. If you're able to go 1-1-1, I think that's a really high moment for the underdog to come back. So jumping into game 3 now with Saint Vicious, and let's see how he does this game.
Yeah, we've got the cat cam, of course, for Saint. This is Saint Vicious actually is a cat, and he is playing. So that is it's good to see him here on the camera, looking good today. He plays without looking at the screen generally, as well as what I've noticed. But yeah, he's going to be grabbing a giant belt actually to start things out. So not the sword that we've seen a lot of people going for, not the chain vest either.
Yeah, and Saint in his first game did take a little bit too much of a risk. In the early game, he hit 2 Jinxes and a Tomkins, right? So from there, you're thinking Fortune. But I don't believe he ever hit the 3rd Fortune ever. And by then, he lost a lot of HP without being able to cash in on anything. So that was just kind of a bait that was really unfortunate for Saint. So we'll see if he does get lucky with another Fortune start or any other great strong starts.
Yeah, he picks up a sword to kick things off as well. So we'll see if that can turn into maybe a Guardian Angel later. We've seen that just be such a powerful item for multiple comps. You need it as a defensive for Ashe against all the Talons. You need it for Ari. You need it. It's just a good item, something that he will be looking for, finding that vest at some point in the game. But nothing else super interesting on just this first round. But we're going to see what he picks up from these other neutral camps as we make our way to the first combat.
Yeah, and this start of items is always a little bit complicated just because of the fact that right now it builds a Zeeks, which is a really good late game item, I believe. But the thing is that you want to prioritize that sword for a GA or IE. And that giant spell, although Zeeks is a really great item for a giant spell, you kind of, oh my, I think you do slam Zeeks now. Or, for me, I actually might grade it out with Warmogs. Warmogs is pretty weak towards the late game, but early game wise, that is a sufficient tank item. I really do think that I would like to keep the sword for something else. But if he hits sharpshooters, then Zeke would be a decent option.
Yeah, I wonder if Saint wants to play for a stronger early game this time, or if he's just going to go all in to try and go for the strongest late game, because he knows he's got to get a couple firsts in a row, So maybe that comes into consideration for the Zeeks, because he's so far behind that really it is first into first that looks like the path to victory for Saint Vicious.
Yep, hitting a Vanguard start, which is pretty decent. And yeah, he's putting the Zeeks on. Some quick attacking Vanguard, so we'll see how that goes. I mean, Vanguards from the start, especially Garen, falls off late game, but early game wise is a really great unit.
Yeah, it should be really solid for these first couple rounds. Having the Vanguard synergy. This is a chosen Diana with the Zeeks on the other side, though, for Hobos, and he did go up to level 4. Has the Janna in as well, which is a great unit in the early game, giving those shields and that extra damage. So I think that this is probably an L for Saint to kick things off, but this is a pretty strong board from Hobos, so I wouldn't be
Super
too worried about
interesting
this.
from Hobos as well. With Assassin Seeks is definitely a really wonderful item. But he did have components for a GA, and he decided not to go for it just because this is a stronger board overall.
Yeah, now a couple Warlords for Saint, and that's a Sharpshooter Nidalee. Can be pretty strong early game synergy as well.
Selling the board in order to put in Brawlers over... Well, he could have done Vanguards, I believe, just because... Actually, if he sold the Tom Kench, he could have kept the other Vanguard, I believe, and I think that would have been a stronger board.
Well, we'll see if this board can be strong enough. I mean, it's of course strong enough to beat Cottontail here. That's not a board that you're worried about whatsoever. When we look at this one here, just the tier 2 Diana, no items have been put down, and that's not going to be nearly enough to actually beat saintvicious, especially because I think Saint has a fairly powerful board with, Sharpshooter, Brawler, and Warlord synergies.
Yeah, Cottontail has a lot of gold on his bench, so I'm curious to see if is going for a losing streak or he's still just looking for pairs into tier 2 units so that he could just play something and make his board stronger.
Yeah, and more
Another
Warlords.
Warlord. So here's the thing, is that you could actually just play Warlord, and it's actually decent, especially if you have such an early start, such as this one. It's not the best comp, but again, if you're able to ramp up and get those early win streaks, it could be a really good comp, and then you stack some items on the Katarina.
Yeah, it is all about hitting that Katarina, and it would be interesting. Like we talked about, we saw the Cultists earlier do so well. Even back then, I mentioned Warlords as a potential comp that you could high roll, and maybe that's what Saint ends up finding. Maybe he just rolls into a bunch of Warlords in these next couple of turns here, or rounds, I guess, and maybe that leads him into a path that we didn't expect. Maybe he takes the road less traveled as well and finds something a little interesting to play.
Yep, and super happy for Saint here, keeping up with those wins. And on Warlords, again, the more early wins you get, the better you go for a win streak into the neutral rounds. So looking at Carousel right now, he does have a extra Giant's belt. So it's like, question is, does he just want to go for another Seek, or he want to start building some other carry items? Which, this is a defensive carousel aside from a tier and one sword. So, oh, there we go. All these solo items are not great for him. He's left with a cloak and a giant spell for Kurumx and Spencer.
Yeah, and the tier for Saint, that can be, well, that's redemption. I'm sure it's not that. I'm sure he's just holding that for probably the blue buff. We'll see later, as we're going to jump over to Cottontail and take a look at what he's got as well. This is a Nico's on the bench. He's got a couple Moonlight, but not enough to be really buffing everything the way he wants. Nothing being buffed up to the 3-star threshold, and he's going to slam the Zeeks as well. A lot of Zeeks in this game so far.
Yeah, and then honestly, Redemption is just a sad item that you really don't see often in early to mid game, and it's just at the very late game when you just have these extra opponents where you don't have other ideal items to put on, then you're like, all right, Redemption, here you go. That's why the Giant Spell is so unliked, just because outside of Zeke's and Morello's, all the items are very subpar, making you having these like awkward situations.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the occasional Warmogs we'll see for the early game. You even mentioned that earlier as a potential slam instead of the Zeeks. But yeah, it doesn't scale, certainly. And then, it's the bits and pieces item, for sure.
Saint unable to keep his win streak here, so a little bit awkward and sad when you go to 1 loss, 2 wins, into another loss, and you're just left with potentially a 2-loss streak into Kurumx, which honestly is the same thing if you just win one more. There's a 1 goal difference, but Yeah, there's really no point in doing the losing streak here. It's better to just try to win.
Yeah, it does feel like the people who have been doing the winning strategy instead of the losing strategy have been having a better time tonight. And I know it sounds like a meme, but I do mean it in the sense that fortune has not been so fortunate for the players that have gone that route so far, even though we did see 1109 get a fairly good finish after, going pretty deep down that rabbit hole. But it's not so good for Cottontail right now on this lose streak, down to 73 health, as he's playing Warlord as well alongside these sharpshooters.
Spencer did hit some of those early divine
Sorry,
units.
scouting save.
He has a divine unit. Oh, sorry, I'm still looking at saintvicious.
I definitely trolled you there.
Cottontail, yes.
It happens.
Apologies. We're looking at multiple streams at once, so I was slightly distracted there. But let's move on to Cottontail. He's looking at the Lysandra reroll once again. Actually, no, I don't know if he's going to go for that path. They're all tier 1 right now, so I think he just held it for the time being.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that, this is just Cottontail's just trying to stabilize and make his way to that 4-cost chosen roll down. He actually grabs this chosen Janna here to try and help give an influx of power to this board, as it is going to give him Mystic. I don't know how helpful Mystic is going to be as a synergy at this stage in the game. I think it's okay, but as people start to hit, the Talon, the Ashe, I think this meta right now isn't exactly a Mystic meta unless we see a lot more of the Aries, I guess.
This is right now a little awkward for Cottontail. I'm glad he slammed the Bramble because that's going to give him a little bit more of a damage. But outside of this, the comp doesn't have damage, right? Like, you have Brawlers, you have a Naked Diana, you have a Mystic Janna, and so you're just defensive right now. And unfortunately, the only unit that could do substantial damage is the Lysandra, which is only tier 1. So you're really hoping for that Silas to carry now that it has the Bramble.
Yeah, the Bramble Silas can do a good amount of work here, getting those chains down. And, really just trying to hold on long enough for the Lysandra to continue to AoE. And you just use the tankiness to get as much damage out as possible. But yeah, this board is a real struggle bus, I feel like, for Cottontail. It looks like he's going to win this one against Spencer, but it's a slow roll through these fights. And it's going to be a slow grind to 4-1 for Cottontail. And he's just hoping that he can get through a little bit less scathed, because I don't think unscathed is a word that we're going to be able to use to describe it.
Yeah, this is now an awkward spot for him where he's at 3-2. He's considering whether or not to level to 6, but considering how his board is really not that strong and he doesn't have much to put in, he decided otherwise and just leave it up a little bit to RNG to see if he wins or loses this round.
All right, going into combat once again. Econ kind of okay for Cottontail as well right now at 40 gold. Going up against KCI and that Pike. Very tanky items on this Pike. That's the ZZ Rot Portal and the Sunfire Cape. ZZ Rot Portal, actually, that's another item that you would build out of Giant Bell, right?
ZZ Rot Portal is, yes, it is a giant spell and a bow.
Okay, so that's a little bit better, but you do have to use a bow for it to get there. But yeah, that is going to be the Pike being too much. KCI gonna take down Cottontail, and yeah, like I talked about, I mean, this board is like, it's beefy. It takes a while, but it just feels like it doesn't really do that much damage.
If he had a Lysandra too, I think the possibility is definitely there. But as we saw, like, the cultist, it just landed right onto Lysandra, and Lysandra started focusing onto the Galio, and from there on, just wasn't pushing out damage at all. And Silas, tanked a lot of the damage and lasted for a really long time, but that's just kind of it. It was tanky.
Yeah, so we jump over here to Spencer, and he's got 4 Vanguard. He's bonking a little bit right now, just for the early game. Just the early. It's not bonk is not something. Certainly not something we expect to see.
It's fun though. There's that for sure.
But we've got a little bit of Bonky Kong to start things out here. We got a Thieves Gloves on that Wukong as well. The hits for this round, not super good with the Chalice and the Crit Glove, but it still should be enough. Just the 4 Vanguard, the tier 2 Wukong, just being pretty powerful at this stage in the game, is allowing Spencer to sit middle of the pack. But wow, that was ended up really close actually with the Pike, but not quite enough to get through the bonk there.
Yeah, I think 4 Vanguards is one of the strongest synergies, but then also Pike 2 is also one of the strongest chosen that can get in the early game. So unfortunately, 4 Vanguards is a lot stronger. I mean, not unfortunately, that makes sense, right? Like over
Yeah,
a tier 2
over a
chosen
single
unit.
yeah.
Yes.
You would hope that the 4 synergy would be a little bit more valuable than the single unit,
Right.
but not always the case.
The Pike did do a lot of work though. I believe it ulted at
He almost
least
got
3
there.
times and it was almost able to kill off 4
He
Vanguards.
almost got there easily. He really did. He really did. But yeah, can't mess with the bonk. And this Bonky Kong. I miss Bonk. I really do. I know that I don't know if it's controversial. I just miss playing Bonk. I think it was really fun. I just wanted to play Wukong all day.
I do love how aggressive players are being more with their items in these games. I think they learned, especially from game 1, where so many players actually took like severe damage, and then it let like KCR Hobo shine because they were just pushing out whatever was the strongest slam wherever they could. And so we even have here, yeah, Deep Gloves, the last Whisperers may have been better, and then there is also IE, etc. But he just slammed those Deep Gloves right off the bat, and having that Wukong save him a lot of the damage.
All right. Now, Spencer, the roles for the Bonky Kong this time gonna have that Spear of Shojin as well as
Ooh,
the
4
Chain
sharpshooters.
Vest. But yeah, like you mentioned, 4 sharpshooters, and this is a Bramble Yeti in the front with the Nunu. Not gonna be going down anytime soon, and just all that damage from the backline is just too much. And Hobo's got a pretty good board for himself right now. A lot of room for upgrades as well, sitting on a couple of 1-star units, but has the 2-star Teemo, has the 2-star Nidalee, helping to carry through with those sharpshooters. And once again, hey, this time around, a synergy of 4 sharpshooters being a little bit stronger than a synergy of 4 Vanguards with all of that AoE damage.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited for this lobby. We have seen that everyone's going pretty diverse in these early starts, and then also no one is in a insane lead. Like game 1 and game 2, we've had someone who was 100 HP for 8 rounds or more, or they would be sitting at 92, right? But here, everyone's health is pretty fair, 52 to 81, and a lot of them in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, the margins are a lot closer in this game, and 1109 sitting at the top with 81 is certainly not a big lead whatsoever. Just one round where he loses, and the standings are going to completely shake up as Spencer going up against that is going to be saintvicious, and the bonk is a little too powerful this time. It looks like I don't think that Nidalee is going to hang on long enough. Yeah, it looks like there it is. Just the reach from the staff, the bow staff, going to take her down, and Spencer, still holding steady in this 60 range, and Saint once again.
I was going to say my heart breaks every time.
I don't want to bring attention to it.
Yeah, let's not curse it anymore.
Saint's doing great. He's having a good time. He's vibing. He's chilling. He's cat jamming in the chair there. We see him.
And last time we saw this dude, he went on a huge comeback. So you know what? We keep it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll just let him quietly climb back into the game as we see what item Spencer picks up. He's got the TG on the side. He sold off the Wukong. He's going to be looking for potentially his chosen very early on as he levels to 7.
These are not great items for him holding only a chain vest, and you don't really ever slam that with the bow, especially when you're leaning towards a talent or the Ash build. Okay. So he's rolling down. He hits another Thresh, picks up an Ari. Does he want the Spirit Yumi? He does, so he might want to go grab some Kindreds. Ash, Kindred, and he has a Warwick already. No Kindred yet, but at least he hit 2 of the 4 costs that he would like.
Yeah, he's getting there for the Ash. We see the chosen Jhin getting passed on. It just shows a tale of the times, really, because there was a time where that would just be you'd be frothing at the mouth for that Jhin, but that is not this meta. As we see it passed up, and Spencer's going to be looking for that Ash. Still has the opportunity to hit a really good 4 cost chosen at this point, and still has the makings of some very powerful compositions.
Yeah, and honestly, 4-1 does not have enough time for players. You see him after his roll down, he has a TF that I do believe he wants to switch out for honestly anything at all. But because it already has a locket on it, it was in the perfect position for the locket. It was just a little awkward and didn't have enough time to put another unit over the TF.
Yeah, all right. More roll downs looking. It might be more likely that he tries to natural a 4-cost Chosen at this point, because I think Spencer's pretty strong. So we'll catch back up when we see what Chosen he picks up maybe on a fight later, as Kurum grabs has a Chosen Teemo in and is just playing for sharpshooter. Just playing for sharpshooter right now.
Sharpshooter seems to have hits the Gen 2,
Wow,
which is
okay.
really great for him. He
Yeah.
needs a Sejuani, I believe. No, he's not playing Vanguards. He needs
Pair
a
of
front
jinxes.
line. That's just my biggest concern for Kurum right now. It's just the lack of front line. Really great back line. Teemo 2, Jinx 2, Jin 2, but no front line to tank it all up. Is it going to be enough, though? It will
Right
be.
now, he's just got so much damage that I think it's working out. Pretty soon, as these other compositions are going to have their front lines and their carries, Kurum's not going to be doing enough damage to get through, but I think he's got a couple of rounds to find this front line, because this Teemo's got great items. Double Chalice with the Morellonomicon, I think is really solid here. He does have the best sharpshooters in right now. He's got Jinx, he's got Teemo, he's got Jin. So if he can find another Jin item, he also just picks up tier 2 Aatrox for the front line. That's going to help out quite a bit. I like this from Kurum. I think this is really interesting.
Yeah, I like this. I think for now, he's holding a lot of units, so I'm curious to see if he still wants to transition.
6 sharps.
Now, okay, 6 sharps is going to be a lot of damage and really strong, but question is he even... I don't think he's thinking of a transition anymore. I think he's just going to stick with this for a while.
Yeah, he might just play sharps. I mean, it's possible. He might just be sticking with this, trying to get a really high placement in this game. And then play, to go to 24 in the 4th game. Unless he thinks that he can go first with the sharps here.
He is picking up the Teemo, so I think he's just aiming for a tier 3 Teemo even at this point. Because he's not picking up the Talon anymore. So, I mean, with these items, you're really not playing Talon or Ashe. You're kind of too far gone in order to transition over to that one. So I think he's just sticking with the 6 sharps, leveling up, hoping to put in 2 Vanguards by putting the Sejuani in.
Yeah, I think he's really strong. I think this is going to help, propel him to a top 4. Do you think that 6 sharps, like this kind of composition, can first in the meta right now?
Teemo is insanely strong, but I just don't know how it does towards the late game meta, right? Just because if there is, like, for example, a Talon 2 and jumps on the Teemo, after that, like, is the sharps remaining enough to carry? You have the Jin, but it only has a GA on it right now. You're going to need to have a lot more aggressive items and have 2 carries to even have a chance. And also, he still has yet to hit the Sejuani, and he desperately needs that in order to have a more proper front line.
I mean, he keeps hitting these Teemos, though.
He does.
And that's a 3rd Chalice. So pretty interesting. I think we know what Kurum's favorite item is. He's getting some drinks tonight, I think, is what's happening, and needs to fill his cup.
You should probably switch the Jin and the Jinx then in order to maximize on the 2nd Chalice. But he wants the position exactly where it is.
Yeah, I guess the Teemo is the only important one for him that he's buffing. I think that maybe the Vayne he just doesn't really care about, so it's more about the position here. As for this Teemo is just shredding, honestly. It's doing so much damage.
Yeah, there's so much damage, but it's not enough. The front line got absolutely demolished too early, and so even though there was so much damage coming from Kurum, we really do need to push for that level 8 first.
Yeah, he does, and his econ is I wouldn't say in shambles. I think it's not great though. He's only at the 30 gold right now. Saint on the other side only has 20 gold and barely won that, so that's a little bit worrying. But we'll have to see if Kurum can find these frontliners, as he's looking to potentially play a different board. Yeah, just gonna go back to 4 sharpshooters to take out the weaker 1-star 1-cost.
Right, and then having the Pike too as well, a little bit more CC to just try to delay the enemy team a bit more so that your backline can push out more damage. So Pike's in a really good position here, able to go to the top right corner and should be able to hit half of the team at least. Oh, with
this might be... That's a really big Pike stun, actually. Gonna hit just about everybody. Yep. And yeah, what did you say about a frontline, Risa? I guess maybe you don't need a frontline, you just gotta stun everything.
The Pike was really smart.
Yeah, I like this Pike tech a lot to help him get to that later Vanguard setup, maybe find the Sichuani at a later point in this game.
Yeah, I'm super glad that he did decide to take out the 6 sharps, because the Nidalee one and the Vayne one really didn't really do much for the team.
Yeah, they were certainly struggling to actually deal damage. They were just kind of dying to ambient damage coming out from the other teams, and now it's just will he get some more gen items off of the Raptors is really the question here.
Yeah, right now he has he got a bow, which is decent, and then not as great, unfortunately, with these items. Titan Resolve, and then you could make yourself another Vanguard or Duelist, but for this comp, you don't really care for these items at all.
Yeah, Jinx 2, decent pickup for Kurumx.
There's that, yes.
Yeah. Happy about that one.
Is he thinking of, honestly, he's thinking of selling his chosen Teemo, and that might be the play. 4 sharpshooters has carried him thus far, but it's gonna soon lose his place that leveling to 8, removing your Teemo, and looking for another 4 cost chosen might be the play, unless he just wants to stick with the 3-star Teemo approach.
Yeah, I mean he might be going for the team. It's really hard to tell with this position Kurumx is in, because it's kind of at a crossroads where he can go either way. It just depends on how he wants to start spending his gold once he hits 8. Because I think it's likely we're going to see him go 8.
So we're hoping that he gets another aggressive item for the Jhin, or a frontline item such as like a ZZ Rot. ZZ Rot would be really great for this comp. Okay, so he's going for the 3-star Teemo. He's rolling it down. Will he hit though? So it seems like he's gonna eventually take out the Riven again to play sharpshooters. No, he took out the Thresh and no Vanguard. He said, "Forget about front lines. I'm going full damage."
Yeah,
no Teemos though.
He's 2 Teemos away, and he does not have the economy right now to really roll for it. So see if he can find it soon. I mean, he's got the HP to play with. It's not a ton, but 56 he is leading the lobby playing these sharps right now.
The one thing that is really going great for Kurumx here, so one, he's winning this one, so great for him. Other than that, he has the most health in the lobby. So even though that roll down wasn't exactly the most amazing for him, his health pool and the fact that he's still surviving in these rounds and winning could really keep him into the top 4 again.
Yeah, it absolutely could get him there. I think that this sharps, I think it's very likely that we're going to see Kurumx make another top 4 performance here. It's just a matter of if he can get that first. But we're going to jump over to Nhantam. We did see Cottontail actually dropped out in that round. Going to go 8th here. So Cottontail not having his best tournament performance here today. But Nhantam, 2nd highest HP right now. 6 Elderwood with the Ashe and the Ezreal in right now. That is an Elderwood chosen Nunu. And he's got in there very, very tanky. And the backline is coming to fruition here with that Ashe and the Ezreal being in, neither of which are 2-starred yet, but still, that's what you want to see for Nhantam running these Elderwood.
Yeah, Nhantam with the Elderwood really racking up the defensive and aggressive points, and it will push through on Spencer there. Spencer is holding both Ashes and Talents in the back. I think they're both 1-star. And he's just waiting to see which one he's able to tier 2 first. And then Nhantam typing right now, he's waiting until KCI dies before he rolls. So thank you for that input.
Thank you, Nhantam, for giving us a glimpse into the mind. We are able to see exactly what he wants to do.
So that is his strategy, yeah. So we don't have to guess this time.
And KCI is down at 7 HP. I think it's likely
that
Nhantam is able to stay alive long enough.
Items. Do you want Assassin Spat or Warlord Spat?
Yeah. Nope. Nope, I don't want either. It's just for stats, I guess, at this point. I mean, unless one of these players has 2 Warlords randomly in or some Assassins, but doesn't seem super strong for really any of these players. Maybe the Assassin is relevant somewhere for a Talon getting like 4 Assassin.
we see a glimpse of Nhantam's Spotify playlist. But moving on back to the gameplay, he is going to throw that Titan Resolve into the Ashe. He is 2 Ashe away, which is concerning. KCI seems to be holding majority of Ashes, so like you mentioned, he's going to wait until KCI dies, hopefully for him. But if not, then Nhantam's just going to slowly fall off potentially. The Ezreal is doing a lot of work though with the Dazzle in the corner spot and able to hit through all the units right there.
Yeah, but that is a tier 2 Zillion, and that was a tier 2 Zillion, as it does go down, and Nhantam is actually going to win that against Saint. Saint going to take a lot of damage as KCI is going to fall here, and now Nhantam is free to roll for Ashe.
His strategy is working. So we'll have to see. It's he's right now.
Team 03. Team 03 alert for Kurumx.
Kurumx did it. So we have 2 players right now on a win streak at the very top. Finds 1 Ashe.
Double Yone as well. So he's close to Yone 2, Ezreal 2, and Ashe 2. So those are massive power spikes for Nhantam if he can get there. And he has a Nico, so he could select one of them that he wants if he wants that power now.
I'm really surprised how well Nhantam is doing, even with just a 1-star Ashe, to be honest.
Yeah, I think, it's that 6 Elderwood. It's the fact that he's got that Ezreal. I think those are the big factors right now as he goes up against Kurumx, the collision course of the top 2 of the table. But Kurumx, of course, had just hit his power spike of that Team 03, and Nhantam is still a couple of units away from really having this composition fully come online. So he does lose that pretty handedly, but still, overall, Nhantam, 37 health, staying in a pretty good spot as Hobos goes out in 6th. And we see 1109 and Saint both incredibly low. They could go down at any round from this point forward. And a Zephyr for Nhantam is massive off of that this pickup here. I think that's a great late game item. It's one of the best I think you can get in the late game to be able to use in these fights, try and slow down the carries.
Yep, and then hopping over to saintvicious, you can see that he was scouting Kurum's board the most, just because of the fact that he's probably most fearful of Kurum right now and getting into him. So he needs to really think about how he wants to position. And it seems like Saint is also going sharpshooter, which is what Kurum was contesting. And Kurum does have an advantage as a sharpshooter player right now. So Saint is in a scary spot, but he does have the Zillion too. He has the Jhin too. Only with a Last Whisper though, but there is a double Z's coming through from the Jinx next to him.
Yeah, and he's being offered a tier 2 Ashe right now, so I'm curious to see how he decides to go about that. Actually takes out a sharpshooter, so he's going to go 2 sharps, which of course is a chosen sharp, and he's going to go a couple of hunters with the Warwick as well. This could definitely be stronger though. I mean, tier 2 Ashe is an incredibly strong carry.
Right, but double Zeeks, which is great attack speed, and then Chalice, not ideal items for her, but at least the Zeeks gives her the attack speed that might be enough to push through. We have to see.
They
Jhin
are
is doing so much damage.
Pseudo defensive items as well, because they do give a little bit of HP, but not really enough to hang on against an actual carry hitting her. And Saint gonna go down in 5th, still can't crack the top 4 as Hobos fell in that last round. And
Castle, we need to stop watching Saint when he's 1 life away. We
so
keep doing this.
He's so close, but our top 4 is going to be Nhantam, Kurumx, Spencer, and 1109. Spencer potentially can crack that 24-point threshold and be the only person in striking distance of actually taking the win coming into game 4. He just has to hold on a little bit longer because a top 3 will secure that.
Yeah, I'm liking these rolls by Kurumx right now. He realized that his current board can be potentially too weak, so he finds a Cassiopeia and actually gives her the Vanguard spat so that they can kind of tank a little bit more for him.
Oh, look at the positioning on this Cassio. We're going to see if it gets a big Petrifying Gaze here. I think it's going to hit quite a few. Yeah, it does get so many there. It looked a little bit wonky on that animation, but I think it did come out and stun pretty much the whole board. And 1109 is going to drop down. So Spencer, I think he's guaranteed. I think even losing this round, I think with negative 15 on 1109, Spencer has just secured 24 points. And so going into the rest of the games, if Spencer ever gets a first place from here on out, he will be the winner. So that is so important for him to have secured that so early.
I'm excited to see. I believe that Kurumx is actually really close as well. I don't think first place would be enough. He'll be at
First is enough.
23 points.
Oh, for
actually.
Kurum, was he at 13? He wasn't one of the 14s?
No, that was Hobo and KPI. So
Oh,
Kurumx
no.
just missed the mark. But regardless, this is going to be really great for him. And then there are 7 other players next game to try to stop Spencer. But let's see how points are going to go here. Because in that case scenario, Kurumx can go 8th next game to
That's
just
true.
get that point.
That's true. Kurum could go 8th, and it wouldn't be a big deal if he goes first here. And I think having that comfort would be really solid for Kurum to just be able to know that, hey, no matter what, after game 4, I'm in a position that I just need a first to win. So I think Kurum really wants to find this win. Nhantam, of course, also looking for as many points as possible, getting him closer to that 24-point threshold. And we are going down to the final 1v1s of the game between Kurum and Nhantam.
Kurum's favorite item, chalice.
He's got another one? Oh my god.
We now have 4 chalices confirmed now.
Yeah, 4 chalices for Kurumx as he goes into this fight. And I asked you earlier, can sharpshooters take first in this meta? Well, I don't know. What do you think at this point, Risa, as he goes into the last couple of games?
Twice already, so I'm happy 3 times the charm. There is the enemy Yone too, but I believe there's no items on him. If that Yone was stacked, I would have said otherwise, so we'll have to see. There is a Zephyr and then a Ionic Spark.
Yeah, they did jump into the fight, a big petrifying gaze, but this is just a massacre of these sharpshooters.
Chalice Teemos are way too strong.
How many more cups can he have? You know, he's doing the cup song, stacking them up. He's got 4 of them already, and he's going to take the win with that, with all those chalices. And the Teemo just cranking out the damage, getting those blinds going, and of course the Jin to follow through with all of that with the sharpshooters. But Kurum going to take that when he's 1 point away from that 24-point threshold. So he's just really, this next game, the result almost doesn't matter for Kurum. The only thing that matters for Kurum in this next game is that Spencer does not win, because Spencer has locked down 24 points and he just needs a first place to secure victory and a qualification to the qualifier right here in the Challenger Series.
But here's the thing too, there is the second win condition. So let's just say Spencer doesn't hit that first place for a while. Any player that does exceptionally well, which Kurum is one of them, who has top 4 multiple times, he can just go for that second win condition. Forget the first. He'll just go try this other path. And I am loving these first place victories. We had cultist legendaries. I'm just going to call them legendaries, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then we had an iron victory and now sharpshooters. So definitely a lot of diversities in the first place comp. Diversity-wise, we still see Ashe and Talons a lot, but they're not the victors. They're decent in the meta, but are they the strongest? No, because every game is different. And then let's hop into the scoreboard to see how everyone's doing. As you mentioned, Spencer with 24 points and our first yes in that last column. And Kurum missing it by 1 point. But again, as Cassie, you've mentioned, he only needs 1 more point to achieve it, or he can go for the second win condition.
Yeah, of course. So like if he gets a first here, he gets himself to 33 points, and then he could potentially just find his way to win by getting 40 total points instead. But of course, in the event that Kurum does get an 8th, he still has that opportunity to try and win by getting a first after reaching 24 points. Spencer, of course, in the best position to win. He has the most points, but also he does have the opportunity to just at any point in the next couple of games, if he gets a first, he's going to take it. So it's got to feel great for Spencer to make it there with no one else at 24.
And one other thing I love about this format is that outside of Spencer, everyone in the middle of pack too early just needs to win one more game and they can get eligible. Or even at the bottom of the pack, right? Cottontail and saintvicious was struggling a little bit. However, if they just go 1-1-1, which is tough, but it is still a possibility, right, for them to come back. Versus in other formats, usually at this stage, players will give up. They'll be like, oh, there's only 3 games left. Mathematically, there's no way for me to win. So why play, right? But in these cases, these players do have a purpose. If they can just constantly get first place, and stop the others from winning, they can still come back.
Well, really, it's, just win, forehead. That's all you got to do. You just got to get first. You just got to get first and get first again and get first again, and then you'll be able to make it back in.
Yeah,
And
that's
it. It is such an uphill battle for those players. This format does allow for that because, we've had times in the past where, if a player goes 8th, even going first, they can't actually come back and win. But by going first in this format, they can stall out enough time that they can still manage a victory. So I do love that ability to come back in this format, leaving the door still open for Saint and Cottontail towards the bottom of the table.
Yep, and then we'll be heading to Game 4 very shortly, but one question, Casa. Do you think we'll see a Talon or Ashe victory tonight?
I would be so surprised if we get 0, but the way things are going, I don't think we're going to get one. I feel like it's just the night of the revolt of the comps. They don't want Ashe or Talon to win here today. They want other things to find the victories. And we're going to jump into game number 4. Spencer got the sword once again, exactly what he wants. And we're going to have our eyes on Spencer a little bit throughout this game because he is the person who can close it out in this lobby if he secures a first. But we're going to start off here at 11:09 and see how he decides to execute the early game.
Max out the volume to get that high level
immersion. Yes. You have to immerse yourself. You have to be your chonk, which is also a B chonk.
Honestly though, Spencer is definitely the player to look out for. And one thing to think about, if you feel like you cannot get first place, right? And this is talk about players in the middle of the pack, but you see that Spencer is doing really well. I would honestly pick up some of Spencer units or even take his item at carousel. In other formats that may be more controversial, but in this specific format, targeting him is correct, right? Because he's the only player that's eligible of taking home the victory. And unlike other prize pools, this one is winner takes all. There's only one person who is able to qualify into the NA qualifier event with a 5K prize pool. So winner takes it all. So gotta watch out for whoever can win.
Well, and actually, that's a great point you bring up because Kurumx especially, because his placement theoretically doesn't matter unless he's going for the 40-point condition, could just try and grief Spencer this whole game. He could just try and buy his units, try and go his comp, do everything he can to make sure Spencer doesn't close it out, and then try and go for his own first in the next game. So that could be a strategy if Kurumx specifically wanted to go for the first place win. And honestly, it's a viable idea. As troll and as weird as it sounds, this is a unique scenario where no matter the placement, Kurumx puts himself in a position where he can win after this game.
Kurumx is definitely in the position to do that. I didn't even think about that. But to be honest, I feel like a player like Kurumx, he is more prideful than that in a good way, where he won't play, I'm going to spend my entire game griefing only Spencer to guarantee him. Although that is a strategy that would be considered smart, but I think that just playing for that first, as always, is just kind of mentality of a TFT player.
Yeah, it is funny because this is such a specific scenario where it would work. I think it's pretty rare that even in this format for that to be kind of the correct quote unquote line of play. It's because of the 40-point rule. It's actually probably never the correct. There's all options for how you want to play it. Because of course, if Kurumx gets first himself, he not only denies Spencer first, but sets himself up to win in multiple conditions. But it is very funny that is an option here for Kurumx if it's looking rough.
Right, because if Kurumx gets first here, right now he is at 23 points. He would land himself at 33 points. And from there on, he only needs a third place to hit that second win condition. Granted that Spencer doesn't hit first in any of those games, but if able to deny that and able to rack up those points, it is very highly likely for a player to win based off of the second win condition.
Yes, yeah, it really does feel like that is almost a more likely scenario that we're going to see someone win by that condition, because even if someone gets first, they might also get first and it puts them over 40 points. So it does feel like that's kind of the territory we are in. And so unless we see Spencer winning on this game, it seems a lot more likely that we will see it kind of close out in that way. But yeah, we're getting a lot of the early items, a lot of the early fights going here for 11:09. He's got the Elderwood Chosen in right now, which early on in the set we saw a lot of Glider playing this, keeping the early Elderwoods and going for the Ashes. But now, of course, seeing more of the 4-cost Chosens being rushed. So it'd be interesting to see if Elderwood is stuck with for 1109, if he just plays this for a long time and tries to find that Ashe and force into it, comparatively to the style that we normally see nowadays.
Yep, on a win streak, and hopefully all the way to Kurumx. We have seen before that if you are able to win streak all the way to Kurumx, you're at such a gold advantage compared to other contestants that that it almost even guarantees you to 4th place. So you really have to just throw away your money in order to bottom 4 when you have such a great start.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It really has to get to that point for you to lose with these early win streaks. It is a win streak meta for sure. We haven't seen fortune favoring the fools who lose, so it's not been working out so far.
Yep, and then hopping over to KCI right now, he has hit his Dazzler early and also a Sharpshooter Nidalee. Oh, sorry, a Warlord Nidalee. So again, we are seeing KCI being inspired from the Sharpshooters last time. And we see a Teemo here already, and then a Zeke's already slammed. If the Lysandre gets the ult, no. I still think that he wins in this one.
Oh, LeBlanc?
But it's very close.
Does look like a win. A couple more sharpshooters picked up on the bench here. We see those Veins. If potentially KCI kind of high rolls a Jinx, we might see the sharpshooters playing a lot in the early game. Because sharpshooters did well in the last game, of course. Kurumx taking the first with those, but also there was another sharpshooter player in that. I think it was Saint actually ended up 5th with sharpshooters as well. So really funny to see how this meta has been evolving in this Challenger Series qualifier.
Yep, KCI going for the belt here. He already has a Rod on his bench, and so he's just going to build that Morelos right off the bat. Transfer it to maybe onto the Morgana or slam onto the Teemo. Well, he's going to have it on the Lysandre for now. But late game-wise, if he does stick with the Sharpshooter's path, which is unlikely, I believe, just because of the fact that right now it is a Warlord chosen. So we'll have to see. He is holding on to the Veins, maybe potentially moving on to 4 Sharpshooters if he gets it.
Yeah, I mean, there is the Vayne too. That certainly seems like it will get played. I think the Vayne 2 is probably a little bit better than Teemo as well, but you can play both here by leveling up and selling the Kalista, and that's what KCI is going to do. But yeah, you did mention this is a Warlord Nidalee, so I agree with you. It's very likely that sharpshooters are not going to be the name of the game for KCI.
Yeah, so we'll have to see here. He did manage to take down another player who was going for a 100% win streak, and he is on a 1 win himself. Let's see if that was enough of a power spike for him. He did level to 5. He tried to win, but it's really shocking right now. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, it's not enough, but yeah, was able to clear away a couple more units with that icy blast coming out of the Lysandre. But yeah, the Akali was doing a lot of work for Kurumx at this stage in the game. I mean, that is the ninja buff, of course. Does a lot of work, especially if you roll into an Akali or a Kennen early on.
Yeah, so this is a state that I personally hate being in, but it is the right play to level, play your strongest board, and to try to maintain your health as much as possible. But it is unfortunate that KCI is still down to 80 HP, and he's went on a loss, win, then loss streak. So he's a little bit low on econ, and unfortunately still was taking damage, even with his aggressive playstyle.
Yeah, at the top of the table is Nhantam at 100 HP. We've seen the players that can maintain that 100 HP for a long time have a lot of success in the last couple of games. Just we mentioned how strong win streaking can be right now, but maybe Nhantam can lose this one. This is a pretty powerful Garen, but the board looking quite good for KCI, continuing to play strongest board. But Garen, it does ignore that ability initially, but probably won't get another spin here. Yeah, not going to get another spear or spin. Sorry, to dodge that spear. Going to go down, and KCI going to end the win streak. So no 100% once again.
Really unfortunate for Nhantam there. I believe the Lux and the Lysandre both ulted around the same time in the backline, and it went for the unit that was just about to die. So essentially just hit almost no one. And without that damage, there just wasn't enough. And we see here that KCI is transitioning. He is putting in the 4 sharpshooters. Question is, will he stick with this, or it's just something he's going to be playing throughout the mid game?
Yeah, I mean, you did mention before the Warlords. I think it does really bode more so towards that mid game for sharps. The front line is so weak right now for KCI. It's just a Garen. So I'm not sure how good these 4 sharps are going to be able to do against anybody who's got a remotely strong board. I think if anyone has a weak board, it will just evaporate to these 4 sharps. But if anyone else has a fairly strong board, they're just going to blow through it. But we'll have to see if this works out for KCI at this point in the game, or if he can find some tankier stuff as he gets towards level 6. But it'll be a while before he can put anything in. So unless he hits maybe a Garen 2, it's going to be tough to get any tankiness.
Right, but at least right now, it's still at the very early stages of the game, so units tend to be a little bit on the squishy side, and 4 sharpshooters does push out so much damage and CC. So even though the Garen is a very weak front line for this comp right now, it just still might be enough, right? Because the idea is you have the Garen all the way to the left side, distract the units to go over there. But I mean, in a case like this with a assassin jumping onto your right side, then it's kind of meaningless. But the idea was there, right? Where you do drag most of the units onto the left, so it gives your sharpshooters a bit more time, because the units all have to pivot there and then go back to the right side into the sharpshooters.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the sharpshooters, we've seen the cultists, we've seen, all these different things, but is this game for Akali? As we see Spencer with the chosen Akali has some really good Akali items right now. And we'll likely see that continue to carry him through the early game. He did drop to 74 health, but that Akali, I think he probably just picked that up. I think that's going to be really strong for Spencer potentially finding a win streak at this particular point in the game.
Yeah, of course. And then we also have Kurumx at the very top there. He is not entering this game and griefing just Spencer. He is going for the win streak. And we do see KCI here. He is picking up some brawlers and we're tanking it up. Tom Kench, great early game tank. And he was able to sell off to probably 30 gold. You get out the Malachis, and depending if you win or lose, you sell the Garen as well.
Yeah, and KCI continuing to find some success with these sharpshooters. As I say that, of course, backline does blow up and he does lose that round. But it hasn't been too bad here. He is near the bottom of the table, but it's only a 2-loss streak. It almost would be better if he was streaking in one direction or another. You talked about how he kind of went win-loss, and that's certainly not what you want to see as far as your economy is concerned. But, Saint this time around, middle of the pack, 71, not at the bottom of the table just yet. And we'll see if he can hang on a little bit better this time.
Yep.
As we're going to jump over to Spencer.
Yeah, Spencer here right now is in 5th place, and he does have really strong contenders against him, right? Kurumx and 1109 both on a solid streak over there, up in with their health pools. So we'll have to see. Spencer's a little bit tough. It's still very early to see if he can hit the first or not and take home the victory.
Yeah, but we're going to get a glimpse into his mid game with this Akali pickup. There's a pretty tanky front line with these Vanguards, and like I mentioned, these Akali items are great so far. You have the IE, you have the GA, and I wonder if he'll even try and commit more Akali items. There could have been the Jeweled Gauntlet to go for, but potentially wanting that Gunblade as well to try and heal up.
Right now, Spencer is in a really solid spot to go into a talent build, right? He has the IE and the GA ready, and I believe he also has an extra glove. So that could go into a Last Whisper, and then the rod that he has on the collar right now could go into a Morelos for your Morgana.
Yeah, that pivot could be really, really strong for Spencer. And so we'll see what item he can grab off of this. Is it going to be going for that Last Whisper? Potentially, it looks like he's going for a spat. Actually,
he is able to make a assassin special off it, the Yomus, and so that's actually pretty good because then if you build into Talon, this kind of commits him a lot more into the Talon path, and it gives him another start because you're throwing into another assassin with your Akali right now. But for the future, though, you only need to play the one talent, and then you don't have to run Pike anymore. You can instead put your Assassin Spat into a Irelia, your Shen, and, well, last few games, we even saw someone put it on their Morgana.
Yeah, and, well, I actually like this commit a lot more than I think I would in other situations, because we look at the situation Spencer's in. It feels like, you already mentioned, he's kind of got perfect items for that talent already. But also, he has the chosen Akali to start to get him there. this is already going to be good to have in, and it's going to be able to win a lot of these rounds by itself before getting to that talent. And I think because he has kind of this pseudo talent in already, it should be able to buy enough time to maybe force this composition. So I like this spot.
Yep, Akali just slowly taking out the brawlers. It was targeting Kindred at first and just decided to shift target and was like, well, I'll come back to you later. But even then, the Akali is extremely strong and he's able to keep up with this win.
Yeah, Akali is still cleaning house. So Spencer keeping up, taking down 1109, who is one of the players at the top of the table. Kurumx also losing this round. Actually, pretty much the whole top half losing to the bottom half for that round. Saint being the highest placed person to actually win their round.
Yeah, I'm actually really curious about Kurum's board just because of the fact in all 3 games, I actually have to say that he was one of the most consistent players for me. Just because of the fact that he has kept his health extremely high throughout either early game or mid game was where he excelled. So right now we see that he's excelling throughout the early game, and from what I've seen in the past, he's kept his chosen Jinx into a chosen Kindred into a chosen Teemo. So he's one of the rare contenders that doesn't do the 4-1 roll down into a 4-cost chosen. He'll keep his 3 or 2-cost chosen and build flexibly around that and just maintain his health into a top 4.
Yeah, the long pike stun here, trying to keep hobos alive against this Akali, but still, you know, I keep going back to it. The Akali has been great for Spencer. It might even be able to win this round. It's just the Galio left after this stands back up, and I think it's gonna be able to clear this away. So Spencer keeping up this win streak, and you know, if he finds the Talon, maybe we find the one Talon win and it goes to Spencer to end things straight away, as he's finally gonna pivot out of that Akali.
Yep, he is closing through the 4-1 roll down, so I'm curious to see if he is able to hit that Talon or not, and we'll have to look at some other competitors after the 4-1 roll down.
Yeah, I mean, if he finds this Talon, I don't know. This is a really scary spot for everybody else in this lobby.
I was prepared to cast a couple more games, but maybe, yeah, as you mentioned, if he hits the Talon.
Ending the night early if the Talon is found quickly by Spencer, especially if it's a chosen Talon.
It's the Morgana and the Shen, okay.
Yeah, Morgan Shen found.
Oh, lots of... That's a tier 2 work. He does not take it, really.
He wants Talon. He just wants it.
No, he's going for the Ahri items because he has Jewel Gauntlet and the GA. He has a Fawn. I would slam that Fawn immediately, though. Fawn. No. Unless he doesn't want the Fawn, there's no way he doesn't want a Fawn, right?
You're right. I mean, it is Ahri. It's got to be Fawn, but he skipped the Warwick. He did skip an Ashe earlier. He just grabs this one now. But it's gonna be Ahri, and we saw Ahri win earlier as well.
Yeah, that was by Spencer as well. So.
And his positioning with Ahri has been beautiful, and these are great Ahri items. These are really good for her. I'm wondering if we get a repeat of game 2 out of Spencer. I'm wondering if he can find the Aatrox as well.
After so many people made fun of Ahri, especially because she is a lot worse in this meta compared to the past, it would be really exciting to see Spencer take home the victory with 2 Ahri wins. And this just shows, like, playing flexibly, especially in a tournament setting as well, right? I feel like in a setting of just regular playing or in ranked games, you just play the most consistent comp, which is Talon and Ashe, right? But then in these type of situations, you go for the uncontested comps, you're able to hit your tier 2 earlier, and you are able to place first. We have seen this throughout all 3 to 4 of our games so far.
All right, so we're back onto Kurumx. Currently, he's got a Fortune chosen. Is that? Oh, it's chosen Sichuani. I was looking for the little sparkle. But yeah, so it is going to be Fortune in for Kurumx, but he's on a win streak right now, so he's just getting a little bit of econ from these Fortune units over time, not looking for a big loss streak or anything. But he does have the HP, where if he started to loss streak here and then found a win with the Fortune later, that could start to swing things back into Kurum's favor.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Sejuani too, and you basically just always take that at 4-1, even though you may be going for a completely different build, just because of the fact, oh, he's going for sharpshooters again. So in that case, he might just stay on with the Sejuani the entire time and always run Fortune.
Yeah, could be. I mean, that just gives you more gold for rolldowns. Try and potentially find maybe 3-starred units in the late game if you're continuing to make a lot of money. Could also help him just level up a little bit quicker if he can start to find these wins. But Kurum going against Cottontail here, who does have that Ash 2 in the back line, going to be cranking out so much damage. It has the GA alongside that Infinity Edge, and well, getting stunned up quite a bit, gonna get chain stunned, and the sharpshooter's coming through again, beating down another Ash player.
Yeah, this time not even with a Teemo carry. He's using Jinx, and equally just as strong because it provides CC and a decent amount of damage. And one thing I do really like as well is that he is running Pyke often, and it's not your standard, okay, I'm just going to run my Vanguards and Sharpshooters and throw whatever else in. It's always been consistently Pyke just because of the fact that he is a low-cost unit that does a lot of CC. He ults pretty quickly from the start as well, giving your Sharpshooters a lot more time.
All right, looking to pick items. Kurum, what does he need here? It looks like maybe Jhin items would be good, but there's nothing left really. Death Cap, probably not. But that's
He has
his
a lot of rods.
third rod.
We see a pattern here from the previous game. 4 chalices,
Yeah.
and now he's like, let's pick up as many rods as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if he can turn them into chalice.
So yeah, we'll have to see if he is able. I mean, Kurum's in a really good spot, right? He's at 50 gold. He's at 83 HP. So I feel like this is almost a very highly likely he's going to top 4, right?
Yes.
So it's just about Spencer there, which is closing really close in second place, where Kurum needs to deny Spencer that first place win, especially since Spencer is doing well in this lobby.
Yeah, I mean, well, we're going to get to see a fight from Spencer right now. The positioning looking like Garen just filling in for Aatrox until that Aatrox comes through. But yeah, I mean, it's coming down to the wire at the end of this series of games, and Kurum's going to feel really good about beating Spencer and getting a little bit of damage on him right now, and knowing that he's got the stronger board, because he can't let Spencer win, or that ends the day for everybody.
One thing I actually do love, so Kurum has played in a format similar to this before, right? In the OC and a final with the first place win condition. He was actually in this exact same spot last time. Sox was the only person who was eligible for the first place finish, and Kurum was doing really great in that one lobby. And I believe both players told me that day, saying like they were shaking during that game because of how intense they were. And Kurum was able to steal that first place from Sox, leaving Sox with the record of 2-2-2-2.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if Sox is having flashbacks somewhere. He started sweating suddenly, even if he's not watching the tournament. It's just, he knew something was happening. Disturbance in the forest there, but Spencer still not the highest HP value here. It is Kurum, and then Saint actually having a pretty good game here on a win streak, as we see Kurum actually fall to KCI here. But yeah, we'll see if it ends up a late game 1v1, someone against Spencer, fighting for everyone's tournament life.
I hope we're not cursing it as he immediately took a hit for Spencer. But honestly, even without that, because 4 games was the minimum that we predicted, and then 5 games is usually around the mark where a lot of players are going to be eligible, like around half the lobby potentially. So there's going to be more and more people who's going to be able to steal that first place win condition. But right now, everyone's just keeping an eye out on Spencer. And I wouldn't be surprised if even throughout the game, they've been making sure they're positioning specifically against Spencer, just to ensure if they RNG into him in one of your 2 choices, you're able to beat him.
Yeah, I'm sure that it is on everybody's mind. It has to be, because you can't just let him sneak through. But we do see Spencer going to level 8. Well, kind of a cacophony of level 8s going through, as most of the lobby is going to get there on 5-1. So they continue to roll down. That's another Talon. Saint gonna sell that. He's got his Talon already. Talon plus the Chosen Morgana, and he hits the Ezreal.
Yeah, he's just rolling down, looking for Shen and Yones, I believe, at this point, in order to build more Adept units. But, I mean, he's at a really strong spot. He already had the Morgana 2 and the Talon 2 even prior to this roll down, so he was really trying to solidify and get his gold back by keeping up this win streak. Unfortunately, I don't think that roll down was really the best, but I think his previous units is still strong enough to carry him.
Yeah, it seems like that might be the case. That fourth shot almost coming through, getting the bounces for Kurumx. Could have won that, but no, it is still the win there for Saint, keeping this win streak as he doesn't have any economy, but he's got a 6-win streak and a very strong board. Lux 2 going to be picked up as well as we see the final level 8s of the lobby from 1109 and Hobos coming through.
So the Ezreal, which I'm a little surprised about. I mean, granted, that is a Lux 2, and you always play the Lux 2 over the Ezreal 1, but I might have still kept it anyways, just because Ezreal is such a strong unit. But we'll see what Saint does here. He's selling off more and more units now. I I believe the play was to keep the Ezreal, because right now you're running 3 Divines, and then you're really keeping the Lux there for Divine plus Dazzler, right? So you don't need a Divine buff anymore, and you want the Ezreal over the Lux. Ooh, Aatrox pulls over there, and then
Yeah.
Ari ult.
Yeah, Spencer. Spencer is online. He's activated. It's looking like a repeat of game 2. At least the setup, it's starting to be there for Spencer.
We need people to start building 4 Mystics again, apparently.
And he just beat Saint as well, who was the lobby leader. This is I'm having flashbacks, Risa. I'm having flashbacks right now.
Vanguard Mystics coming back with the Ari carry.
Yeah.
Playing with some items here. Oh, so okay. Running Duelist here. I mean, to be fair, yeah, there really is much item on the Talon. And so he's really hoping for something good on the Carousel. Ideally a GA, if not Hodge or BT, to sustain him a bit more.
I mean, how do these players adapt? Is it possible for anyone to even go, for Mystic and try and beat Spencer? Because the way we saw game 2 play out, it just felt like everyone was text to the normal meta, not playing against the Ahri, and Adepts not doing nearly as much. These Ashe comps are still just dying to it. Even the Talon was not being able to do well against the positioning that Spencer had with the Aatrox. So I'm really curious to see if there's going to be any adaptations to try and beat it, as Saint is starting to drop from that top spot, and Spencer has retaken the HP lead.
In these earlier rounds, it's still really hard to tell because you still have 7 to 8. All the other players are still basically alive. So Adept is just overall always good, right? But then once you could go down to just 2 to 3 placements, and let's just say it was just a 1v1 against Spencer, at that point you probably don't have enough gold to position to ideally what you want, though. That's the issue. It's yes, you could try to think of a way. I'm sure these players are smart enough to find a variation that is specifically good against Spencer's Ahri comp. But you can't afford to do it so early while you still have the econ to do so because of all these other players.
It puts them all in a very difficult spot because, I mean, yeah, this is going to be really tough to get through. I mean, Saint just picks up a Zillion 2, which is great. This is a Mystic as well. So he's got 2 Mystic in at least, which can help out. But I still don't know if Saint is strong enough to beat Spencer. Maybe that Zillion 2 is enough right now. At least for now.
He did get the GA onto the Talon, which is a really great item for him. Just giving that 1 extra life to Talon for him to jump and jump again has saved a lot of the fights. So going against Nhantam right now, positioned to... Oh, Namtam's another Ahri player. I didn't even notice that, but there we go. Jumping into that back line. Yeah, the thing is, there without Last Whisper, he's just stuck on that Hecarim for so long. But finally onto the Ahri now. Ahri does manage to ult. And is it enough? There's a stun coming out. I don't think it's enough because there's a lack of damage, but they're just so tanky. Maybe it is. Mr. Johnny is just tanking everything up.
Yumi's just keeping her alive. She can't die.
Oh no. And then the stuns. Okay, so Talon does push through.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
I was with you. I was right there with you. I thought that when the Talon sniped the Yumi, I thought he had it. But no, the last Sejuani ulti comes through. The glacial prison gonna close everything up with all the fireworks. Man. I guess it's the fortune skin. It's the piggy bank.
Yeah, that's the hardest part. So like you either need a last whisper to go against these Ari comps or you run more Mystics, right? Which Mystics is honestly not even that great. So it's really those last whisper to be able to push through those frontline vanguards.
Yeah, and Spencer on a win streak. Cottontail was the one who went down earlier on. KCI falling very low, going up against saintvicious here. And we're just looking at that Talon jumping around 1v1. But that is the Talon of KCI taking the GA first. But there is this Zillion. So another GA effect basically going through onto the Talon. So he gets to keep staying alive and jumping around. And it looks like the animation broke for him, but he's still pushing through
He's
as
hitting.
here trying to keep KCI alive, but gets kicked away, and that's not quite gonna do it. KCI gonna live on 2.
Yeah, Lee Sin actually doing work here. Lee Sin is considered a unit that is fairly weak for a 5 cost, and so they are buffing him next patch. And I believe the description was vague that Lee Sin is now a god. So question marks on
Yes.
what the changes will be for Lee Sin. But for now, he is still doing work. He's kicking units off the board, so we'll see how strong he'll become by the next Challenger Series.
I mean, maybe Lee Sin is the answer. What if Lee Sin gets in there and just kicks Ari off the board? Maybe that's how you
true.
win. That could be an opportunity for Saint to take down Spencer, but right now he's just kicking blue buffs off and picking up these Luden Echoes, potentially for the Morgana. And Spencer cruising on that win streak. We'll see if anyone can stop him, as 1109 is going to be our target for watching here. He's got the Hunter chosen, it looked like. Going to be the Ashe in the back line, has the tier 2 Ezreal. This is a pretty strong board as well.
Yep, 1109 playing 4 Hunters here, and I believe he has the Elderwood spell, so he doesn't have to run a Nunu. Oh, yeah, he is running
He does,
a
yeah.
Ezreal, yes. So running Adept, no Irelia yet. Instead, he opts for the Dazzler and the Spirit. So we'll see if this shows through. Able to Zephyr that talent perfectly. I was a little afraid for the position of the Ashe, but that Zephyr was really great. But is it enough to take down? It is Ezreal too.
I thought it was going to be enough, but right now it's not looking like
Ooh.
it is. It looks like this Talon's still going to be able to jump around, finish all these people off. So KCI going to stay alive a little bit longer. 1109 dropping very low, and Nhantam actually going to be the one dropping in 7th here. KCI, Hobos, and 1109 all sub 10.
Oh,
while
no.
Spencer is vibing on this win streak.
Oh, no.
Level 9 with 47 HP. Picks up, is that Cassio too? I think I struggled with whatever portrait that just was. But I think Spencer still picking up more upgrades.
I believe we should hop over to Spencer soon, because at least with that level on 6-2, it just might be the winner's POV that we're seeing. There was another player that jumped to level 9. That was Kurumx. So he's trying to contest really hard against Spencer right now.
He does get his Jinx Zephyred here, while that is thrown onto the Ezreal. And Ezreal's going to hit across a lot of targets here. We'll see if the Ashe can do enough with his Runons. It's very, very close, as the GA is proc for both of the main carries, but the Jhin doesn't get it, and Kurumx goes down to 1, staying alive as Hobos versus KCI. One of them will drop here.
Spencer taking down another player. Saintvicious out.
He just can't top 4. He can't catch a break this game, or this set. As we jump to Spencer, this might be the victory lap for Spencer. 47 HP. Everyone else is sub 10. This is his Ari comp, his comfort zone. We saw him take the win in game 2 after 2 other third place finishes in 1 and 3. In game number 4, he is the only person that can end the qualifier right here, right now, by finding a first place finish. He will then qualify for the other qualifier, the giantslayer qualifier, later on. That tournament that is worth $5,000. He will get the opportunity to play in that if he wins here. And it is coming down to it, as he's against Kurumx, the only other one who got to level 9. The Ari ulti gonna land on everything, decimating the board. And Spencer is going to take down Kurumx, but what about on the other side? Who else is going to fall? Who is the last bastion of hope for the entire lobby? It is Hobos on 6 HP. Can he take Spencer down? I don't think so, but it will remain to be seen.
Spencer is at such a good point right now. 6 Vanguards, and I during a scout, I don't think I saw a single Last Whisper. Let's take a quick look. Shiv, GA. Nope, no Last Whisper over there. How is he gonna push through all those Vanguards before the Ari and the Ezreal 2 with full items as well? I think we just have our victor, Casa. Might be time to watch the final fight.
I really think that we are rounding the corner on the tournament here. I think Spencer is going to be our champion. He's going to take it all. He's going to take the qualification. He's going to take the $200, and he's going to take this game as we're going to get into this final fight. The Ari, the reposition. He's got a tier 2 Ezreal as well with a blue buff in the corner. And we just wait to see for the decimation. The Aatrox going to be pulling them fairly soon here, unless he gets stunned up, and he does. He gets taken down as an Ezreal ult wipes away across onto Spencer, but the Ari stays alive in the back alongside the Ezreal. That is just too much damage, too much pressure as another Spirit Bomb comes down and takes out the back line. Hobos just has a set remaining standing between Spencer and the final, and it goes down, and Spencer is going to win the Challenger Series #1. He's going to win the qualifier.
2 times in a row, Spencer came through with the Ari victory, and he is our first confirmed player for the NA Qualify event that will lead into the regional finals. So we're going to grab Spencer into a winner's interview really soon, and just the amount of hype, like it feels so good to be the confirmed player and not have to worry about whether or not you're going to make it into the Qualify event. But for now, the $200 is his, and he gets that direct invitation.
Spencer played like an absolute beast throughout this series. I was talking about it as early as game 2 on how he just looked like he was playing so clean, and he finished out the first rounds, getting to that 24 points in 3 games, and then just closing it out instantly, snapping like Thanos. So amazing play out of Spencer, and doing it with an Ari composition that was something we didn't expect to be the top of the table.
Right, and taking a look at the scoreboard right now, he has played exceptionally today. He went 3rd, 1st, 3rd, and 1st. That is honestly, this format was prepared so that the minimum amount of games that you can win with is 4 if you perform exceptionally. And Spencer was like, all right, just win, I'll do it. And we actually have Spencer in here right now. So Spencer, how does it feel to be the first player to qualify for the final for the qualifier event?
It feels really good, and like it feels like relaxing to not like having to worry about like I guess the snapshots anymore. I guess, right? Yeah.
Well, you still want to be good at a snapshot in case the qualifier event may not go excellent. But however, what kind of playstyle did you go for today with this type of format?
I just like played how usually. I don't know. I didn't really have a strategy, I guess. I just played how I normally would.
Did you go into mind thinking of playing more flexibly, like such as these Ari comps?
Usually what I do is just flex between like Talon Ashe, and then sometimes if I haro enough, I just play Ari, I guess. Like if I get the Jewel Gauntlet and stuff, yeah.
Casa, do you have any questions for Spencer here?
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna ask about the Ari specifically because it felt like you were really comfortable on the positioning of that comp. Did you feel like this meta favored this comp when you were able to find the items for it specifically? Because there were a lot of spots where it just felt like no one could touch you once you had that Aatrox, once you had the Ari, once you had the Sejuani.
Yeah. I only really go this comp if you're or you should only go this comp if you're like turbo haro. I feel you have to get like perfect items and then like a lot of upgraded units at like 4-1 usually. I only go for if I turbo haro. Yeah.
All right.
So
awesome.
what is your style that you're thinking, or how are you going to prepare for this qualify event that is coming up?
I'll probably still play for sure, and I'll just probably like watch other streams to learn still, and yeah.
Yeah, well, congrats. I'm extremely excited. You're the first player to be confirmed, and we will see you in the next qualify event as well. Do you have any final words or shout outs that you want to do?
I just want to thank you all for watching, and thank you for hosting this actually, and yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much. Make sure you check out THGSpencer. And that was our first challenge series, everyone. Spencer here is our first confirmed player. And make sure to check out, we will also have one more spot open from the challenge series on November 16th, it will be at the same time. And we will get one more confirmed player that will go into the November 20th to 22nd NA qualifier event. So everyone, thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you again soon.